Welcome back to the Loud Sound Epicenter podcast. Thankful to be back behind this desk. All right. So it's great to be back behind this desk, and we're actually going to be taking one final trip, as far as I know, in a couple days here. So we'll be back behind it once again. But before we do, I'd like to keep you guys in the loop because I've been thinking about you guys for this trip. And that might sound a little weird, but I mean, ever since we got the Telegram channel, you guys have really been keeping the show alive after hours. I'm giving you the keys to the studio, and you guys are doing a great job keeping the lights on without any shenanigans that could get us into any trouble, whatever that may be. But hey, Ludwig, good to see you here in chat. It's our first comment for the day. This might be a little extensive because there's a lot to get into, lots to talk about. But for those that don't know, I was away this weekend, and I got to meet with my favorite people, a lot of cool dudes. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody who I met once again and talked to during this trip, because, you know, this is the stuff that I live for, honestly. You know, I'm not sure how many people are aware of what took place in Arizona, but there was this very controversial thing that came on to us very quickly here. What do we got? I think you're gonna get. Oh no, I wasn't aware of that. Well, we've tried to avoid that in the past, but that's okay. You know what? That's okay. That's okay. We'll manage. We'll manage. This is for Replay Gang. Hey, if you're here for Replay Gang, we're going to have a lot for you guys here. But anyways, just want to say at the outset, I'm thankful to everyone who was there, thankful to be a part of something like that, because it was really a cool thing. And it's the best of company too. That's the thing. So it was a nice, cozy trip, you could say. I mean, here's the thing. Arizona is a place I've been to before, but this go around, I sort of noticed that the city itself is not really my thing. I know we've talked, you know, been very critical of Vegas, but at least in Vegas, everything is close. You can basically walk to a lot of the spots. But in Phoenix, I don't know. It's the company that really keeps you going, and so that was really what made it and what makes these trips. Anyway, so you know, Phoenix. I know when Mutant hears this, it's going to take him back to the Cult. So I'm sure he'd appreciate me being in Phoenix, not to be confused with one of his songs that he's been out there in the wild listening to. So Mutant's been a very consistent, loyal viewer of the show. And so I want to, hey, can we get some 07s for Mutant in chats? Because this guy, I called him the Christian Slater of the movement. He's just bringing a lot of the Hegelian commentary to life, rhetorically speaking, because I feel like even when I'm not even trying to think in those terms, he's always there on Twitter and YouTube. So check out his YouTube channel if you want to see some clips, because this is the guy doing the work. So I appreciate Mutant for what he does. Been trying to come up with some content for his tweets. You know, he comes up with some very off the cuff stuff, it looks like. And so I want to pay tribute to it appropriately. So I'm sorry, Mutant, if I haven't been responding right away, but I just gotta do some script writing for the Mutant arc. So look forward to that. There's going to be plenty to go off of there. But the other thing too, this is an intro. We'll get into the details, but I want to set the stage, set the dimly lit stage, because Friday was a crazy day. Friday, we'll get to the event, but that's a whole other animal. But it was also the launch of Megadeth's newest album, and that's there's plenty to talk about there. And it was also Hans Hermann Hoppe's birthday. So a lot of different, there's a lot going on there. All of the influences of this show, Loud Sound Epicenter, had their little moments on that one day. So it was a bit overwhelming. Whenever stuff like that happens, it's really hard to appreciate every individual thing because, we kind of got bombarded on Friday with all of the details and the things happening at the same time. So it was sort of playing catch up, as we often are. I also want to talk about a site that we've hinted at on the show. If you watch the video I did with my dad, a lot of people seem to enjoy it. Thank you guys for the support. That was really cool to see, very surreal. He's got content that you can check out separately from the show. And I'd like to share that here. I think at least a couple people were asking about it. But, we got Pete Canones in the show. Very cool, very cool. I want to shill, speaking of, let me get the Rock and Metal Life. So let me, I think that's in my history here. See, on this show, we can, without hesitation, show the search history. Other channels, I don't know, have that luxury. But on here we can. It's been a lot of Megadeth for the past few days. Kind of curious if Pete was checking it out. Here, okay, we got the link here. Show some love to Rock and Metal Life. Yo, Charlotte. Oh my goodness. You guys. So that's Chief Trumpster. Mutant's in here. I don't have to talk about him in the third person. Fantastic, fantastic. So hey, click on that link. And I wonder if do we also have the URL? Because it's in its early phase right now. So I guess I can just go to the Twitter account and we'll be all squared away here. We're not squares. We'll be squared away. And here we go. So we got some links for you. So I'll have to turn the comments on. No, of course. I think my father, I think I've shown my dad a little too much of the dissident right community, you could say, because I think he has seen the wrath of a lot of dissident right comment sections, threads, a lot of the mudslinging that goes on. Some of it is playful, some of it may be, coming from a rude place. I am somebody who can kind of make my way through the kind of 4chan scene, the 4chan blood sports. Some of us are veterans of the, Ethan Ralph blood sports. And so we're very used to that kind of, boxing tier commentary. But I think my father wants to take it one step at a time, and I don't blame him. I would also be skeptical if I saw some of these threads that maybe would be best if I didn't know. But we very much appreciate. One final link. Yo, Jay Birded in chat. I hope I'm not stream sniping. I don't want to be that guy. This was a spontaneous thing here. Okay, where do we got? Here we go. Here's the official link for the site that's in its early phase. So if you guys wanted some music commentary, that's what we do a little on this show. But this is the guy who has the credentials. There's been somebody in the comments telling me, I'm a young guy. Can someone from Gen Z really talk about music that's that old? Because I've got a hair in my mouth. That's a little unpleasant. Give me a sec here. Yikes. Okay. So some people say you're a Zoomer, you're a young guy. How are you going to talk about the 80s? You weren't even there. So what's the deal with that? And I say, as you guys probably remember, the problem with talking about certain decades and using people from that era as sources is because they have bias towards it. And so something that Thomas talks about as well, is when you kind of have an outsider's perspective and you have somebody that doesn't have so much emotional investment in these decades, it's a lot easier to talk about. You're not having to worry about, is this guy picking favorites? Is he, is he having, looking at it from rose-colored glasses because, he thinks because he literally bought the tickets that is enough for him to be an expert, a philosopher on 60s, 70s, 80s. And I just see that's like the Oliver Stone take on the 20th century. And you really need some of that revisionism that's been applied to politics with Thomas, with Murray Rothbard, among others, A.J. Taylor, people like that. I think, those guys are old and we're from there. So a bit of a bad analogy, but you need somebody that's going to be critical, confront some of those taboos. And that's what this show is. We take the revisionism that happens from a political perspective and we apply it to pop culture. And that's also what my dad is doing with that website that I linked there in chat. Might be more appropriate to link that instead of the YouTube link, but I encourage you to check out both. So that's the thing. That's something in the dissident right that I don't see a whole lot of. Morgoroth does it, and a few others do it, kind of Geo, the prudentialist, but I kind of want that to be almost the default, because there's a lot of political commentary, and really love to tap into some of that pop culture. I think a lot of that is neglected, but a lot of people are doing it. So just want to pay tribute to some of the guys doing the work there. Let me see here. Someday, Ben McKay. Hey, I don't think you have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about that. Yo, we got Brandon and chat. Very cool. We got all the people that I was thinking about in Vegas. Subject to Change, Mutant. Yeah, Oliver Stone's cringe. Very cringe. Okay. So where do we begin? Do we start with, kind of want to talk about Megadeth, but I want to talk about this event that I went to. Okay, we're already 12 minutes in. Let's just get right into the event. So, Arizona State Crew is this college club. And when you think about the college right-wing scene, you might think about Turning Point USA, YAF, YAL. And these guys are not really our friends. There's some nice people there. There's some people with good intentions, I'm sure. But these are basically like neocon, containment, establishment tier organizations. And so you don't have a lot of wiggle room. Don't have a lot of dissident reach. However, there's some other college organizations that are platforming people like the person that spoke at Arizona State University, and that was Jared Taylor. A lot of people are aware. I was actually listening to Chief Trumpster's coverage of this last night to prep for this episode. So thank you, Chief Trumpster. Very thankful for your 2 cents. Chief Trumpster really going all in on that event. That was really something. Chief Trumpster is somebody who he's literally me. He's just like, whoops, Nixon. He is just like me in high school. I was somebody who was just kind of looking at the scene in the background. And, if you remember certain people in your classes, a lot of people like to be the class clown. A lot of people like to fight for attention. And the person who's quiet, that kind of means something different nowadays, but the person who's quiet in the class is just sort of absorbing all the talking points that are being said. And then he can have the last word. He can be the last one to throw in his 2 cents. So he knows where everybody stands. It's a bit of a normie thing. It's a bit of playing it safe, a little bit of fence sitting there, but that is, I think, the way to do it most of the time. And so Chief Trumpster kind of has that energy of somebody who is just kind of lurking in the dissident right and checking everything out. And that's me. Those are the people I tend to vibe with. I was talking to somebody on Discord in those same terms. And it's just very cool. It's very cool because there's plenty of people, there's plenty of personalities, and that can be polarizing. There's plenty of people who, do shots across the bow. And I'd like to imagine the majority of people who are in the chats, the majority of the people who are not commentators per se, they are just sort of in the shadows, enjoying a lot of the content. So, anyways, that's a roundabout way of saying thank you, Chief Trumpster. What a guy, and doing a lot of good work. So anyways, I was getting ready. I was watching the coverage because I was curious what other people were saying about it. And let me tell you something, okay? These are the events that I live for. A lot of people say this is so rambunctious. This is so unnecessary. You know, you bring a speaker to campus. It's not like you're going to sell out Madison Square Garden like Andrew Dice Clay. Twice, by the way, twice. He did that. So what's the big deal, okay? You and your friends get to have like a private VIP talk with Jared Taylor. It just kind of, and you know, you got to fly him in. It's a big financial investment. What's the deal with doing stuff like that? And to me, I became interested in politics because of these spectacle events. And that's a little cynical to call them that, but you know, the image is a big thing. Having, you know, the Battle of Berkeley, for instance, the best example. You bring a speaker to campus, you get some of the backlash, and if you're smart about it, you know, you got OPSEC, you got protection. Nobody's going to get a little too rowdy. You know, you hire, like in Berkeley specifically, I mean, they had guys in riot gear. It was this big, it looked like a war zone. And it's like, that is politics. So many people before the Trump era were so happy, like the IDW types, they were so happy. I'm thinking about how James Lindsay would have these hour-long takes talking about Hegel. And hey, we like Hegel, okay, Mutant, that's not a dig, but he would just have these long philosophical discussions with his fellow peers, his fellow think tank operatives. And that, to him, was politics. That was the discourse. That's how you talked about free speech on the college campus, nice and quiet. And for most people, that's what it should be, because events like this, a million things could go wrong. And so this is not to say people should put themselves in harm's way for the sake of good content. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are smart, that know how to do this stuff because they've been studying it. And so those are the people that are going to host them, and you can kind of go to these events basically without any evidence of you being there, unless you go on a live stream and talk about it. But putting that aside, I just want people to know and understand that even though people like Milo and I mean, sort of characters from that era are kind of in the past now. They kind of peaked, and now it's time to move on to other things. I think we really need to appreciate the fact that in the early Trump era, pre 2017 and a little bit after, that's when you had this like meme magic that a lot of people talk about. And it might sound goofy. It might sound like this is just a bunch of ragtag group of kids trying to extend their adolescence, you know, continue their high school years into the college scene. And this is not your grandparents' way of doing politics. But to me, it's like maybe it's a personal thing because I was introduced to politics from this lens. And by the way, there's philosophy to back it up. Jared Taylor, if you want to see that, his speech, it's available online. So just look it up, and he had the talking points to back it up. But I just want to say at the outset, when you see stuff like this and you see certain college organizations disavow it and say, I hate to even give this group the attention that they're fiending for, but we have to disavow because this is not what Republican values are. This is not how we do politics on the college campus. You got to do it in this buttoned up suit and tie way. And I'm just here to tell you that that is not what the 21st century has in store for us. That is the past, and we are repealing the 21st or the 20th century. We are stepping over that way of politics because it's just cringe. It's not fun. So I show up, and this is like the first time I've seen Antifa in person. I've seen demonstrators, I've seen people holding signs. This is the first time I saw like people in full black outfits with their faces covered. And they have a sign, F Nazis, and they're doing this and that. They're screaming to the point to where their voices are cracking. I can hear it. They're like losing their breath, shouting down. People like these college groups hosting controversial speakers. And it's just surreal because this is stuff that I see on Twitter. This is stuff I see in SJW meme compilations. And the fact that I can still see something like that in 2022, it leads me to believe that the good times have not yet expired. So it was very cool to see that in person. Also, I almost forgot about this. So we're getting into line here, and we're going into the event. And as I'm going through the barricade, some guy, hey, I don't know, I think you watched the show because this guy tells me, hey, you're the guy who does those interviews with Thomas, man. Yeah, that's what's going on. And I'm just like, what in the world? So, hey, if you're that guy, whoever you are, reach out, because I wanted to network with you and find out who that was. But everything was moving so fast. We were trying to get through the door. We were talking with security. And so it was just a bit of culture shock that I was walking through the door and somebody knew who Thomas was. To me, that stuff is just so surreal. But nah, whoever that is, man, God bless you. Thank you for showing up. One of the few guys I saw in like an AF shirt. So very cool, very cool. Love that guy. And I was trying to track down, like, do you know who that was? But that was like, that was sort of, you could say that was the one that got away. That was the one. But anyways, so we get into the venue. We're waiting. People are filling in. It's not packed, but it's a good amount of people. And by the way, the people that showed up at this thing, Kai said this at the Fresno event, but the people that showed up to this thing specifically, and it's weird because it was in Arizona, but there was a lot of like surf rock looking dudes, a lot of guys with long hair, a lot of guys with like jean jackets. It really was like the Outsiders who showed up to this event, the movie. Not saying they're outsiders, but yeah, a lot of like Matt Dillon energy showing up to this Jared Taylor event. So that was just very cool. To me, those are the real true believers. Those are the guys that aren't taking it so serious like the academics, the people that want dissidents to shut up and stop listening to, 20 years ago, they would have told us stop listening to Rush Limbaugh and look for something more serious. But anyways, the audience, just great physiognomy, great vibes. It was just a nice crowd. So that was that. And then Jared Taylor emerges from the darkness and onto the lit stage. And he just said his thing, If you've ever watched an interview of him, if you've ever watched one of his American Renaissance speeches, he basically gave the greatest hits. Somebody was pointing out the fact that it was like, he was kind of just telling the stuff we already knew. So it was like, it was cool to see it in person, but if you know already. And so it's a bit like reading like a Pat Buchanan book. It's like it's cool, but we already agree with this stuff, and so it's not really necessary to go out and buy where the right went wrong, where the white Freudian slip there, where the right went wrong, and then a republic, not an empire. It's a bit redundant in that way. Not a critique, just saying. And this is a good luxury of living in the digital age is, some people need to hear stuff like that because they haven't heard it yet. But for people like us, it's kind of fan service in a way. So we don't really have to listen to the whole thing, but it was nice. It was very nice. Then we had a Q&A. And I was wondering if there were going to be hecklers. I was wondering if this was going to be disruptive because I've been to an Ann Coulter event at Berkeley, and someone had to be escorted out. People were shouting during the speech. But at this event, you could tell some people who were there that had an axe to grind, and they waited for the Q&A and they asked their questions. They, the usual, I don't agree with everything you stand for or hardly anything, but I just don't understand what your solution is and what we're supposed to do. What do you expect us to do after all these years? People still stuck in the boomer truth regime, civil rights brain, that kind of just can't divorce themselves from that conditioning. And Jared, as always, very patient and respectful. And here's the thing that you might want to say to people who are skeptical, because the thing about events like this is it's very hard to kind of, for some people, to keep your attention span throughout the whole speech. And some people might think, okay, I get it. Race is biological. How do you say that for 40 minutes? Here's the thing. Somebody was asking about Galatians and asking about the quote, neither Jew nor Gentile, and then paraphrasing, were allegedly all, equal, using that word equal. Well, what does it mean to be equal under the eyes of God? And Jared Taylor was talking about how there's a couple ways to read that quote, because certainly in the eyes of God, when you're in heaven, it doesn't matter what skin color you are. But for everybody living on earth, living in this world, the temporal world, obviously race is significant in this world. So that kind of like walking someone through that logic was demonstrated in the speech. And I just feel like a lot of people who are fans of Taylor and fans of the people from that era, they get like the rough draft of things. People are different. Okay, duh. There's crime in the inner cities. Okay. But spelling it out in those terms to really make things clear. You say people are different. Does that mean you hate other people? That stuff needs to be cleared up. And if people don't word it appropriately, then there's going to be a lot of confusion, and we are going to look like the caricature that people put on us. So that was just a moment that stood out. But there was a lot of disagreements. I shared with Charlemagne a specific question. I don't even want to say it because the chat's just going to go in a different direction. But it's just funny to hear a lot of the online talk asked in real space. So that was very cool. Then we went out. We got dinner at the sports bar with Taylor, and that kind of gets into this theme of the show. Somebody I was talking with at this dinner was talking about John Derbyshire, and you guys are probably well aware, but for those that don't know, he's also from that era of, Peter Brimelow, who used to have a respectable job and now he does VDare. Obviously, we agree with those guys. It's not a critique, but, those guys who are older, who used to be at establishment magazines, and now they're doing dissident ones. He gave dissidentright.com up. He gave it to the specific person. And I would like for people like us to take advantage of that, because I brought up people like Academic Agent. I brought up, sort of the purpose of this show in a way, because, I love Cozy. I love people on the Academic Agent side of things. And everybody kind of does their own thing separately. And I see that in a way as a flaw. Now, some people are not going to agree. Some of those wedges are appropriate because some people lean towards the pagan side. Some people lean towards the Christian side. And so for people that have to make that decision, which way are you going to fall? Those wedges are always going to exist. But I think, you got like countercurrents way over there, and you got all these other things just happening. He brought up Oon's review as a good example of, you have like a hodgepodge, you have a coalition on that one site. And so that's one way to do it. But Derbyshire's magazine, that is like a brand new, like clean URL. I think this could be a potential. I know we've kind of done this, not me, but, people in the Dissonant Right have done this again and again, but a potential new platform to maybe put in some commentary, maybe have like a new magazine, because people like Geo look at I Am 1776 and they look at, just all these different things that are happening. The art rights, there's just so many factions that are all over the place. And maybe a little bit of unity would do us some good. The left has what is it? The left has too much unity and the right doesn't have enough. So that tends to be the big dilemma on the right. And so that was something that I did not expect. I did not expect to hear about John Derbyshire at this event, but it kind of just goes hand in hand with people are, like I said with Chief Trumpster, a lot of people are just looking on the sidelines and they're watching all the different content creators, all the commentators, and they're saying, this is great. This is great. But where is it going? How are we going to do this in the long term? And so I know Stain Haynes is very critical of people who do the notice and move on. Some people have been critical of Pedro Gonzalez and people in that class. But I just think it's very appropriate to be thinking like this, like people say with these Jared Taylor events, these Milo events, is it just fan service? Is it just so we can, get in the college newspaper and then everybody forgets about it 2 weeks later? What are we trying to do here? Are people actually trying to make parallel infrastructures? And with some of this talk that was going on behind the scenes, the answer is yes, there is. And so it's very encouraging to see people who are thinking in those terms. Because, when you see the Teal network, it's not all, we probably wouldn't agree with like every single thing that's happening there. But I mean, Peter Thiel is somebody who's at least thinking long term. And maybe some people lack that or don't know exactly how to go about it. So that was the thing. That was something that happened during this trip that was like, whoa, there was also a separate talk at Culver's Pack, you could say, the sequel. And a lot of just serious people that are talking about how politics really is, I know people on AA sphere, they really emphasize that, that managerial way of looking at politics. You can sit here all day and complain about the party line, but how exactly do you move the needle, and how does the Overton window shift? And politics is not caring about every election per se. It's more so thinking about those back channels, those networks that don't get the spotlight treatment, and rightfully so, because it's not really about that. So that was the thing that happened at this Jared Taylor event. It's very, it's funny to look at, SJWs are very upset. Okay. But, what is this all going towards? What is the investment leaning towards? A lot of developments that aren't really in the public. So it's very cool to see that. It's cool to see that, in Arizona, they weren't just trying to be flashy. There was, someone like Jared Taylor that's not really his vibe. His vibe is just raw. Here's how the world is, and people can fight it. But like gravity, race is something that has to be confronted in some capacity in politics, because, we're living in the most multiracial country out there. And so how are we going to address that? There's got to be talks like that. And Charlemagne's newest video, got thinking about it, not being hateful about it, not being like this Wignat attitude towards it. Just, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So that's why this event was fruitful. That's why it wasn't just this big hoorah. It was very, insightful. And so that was just cool. But what else? What else could I and again, I want to thank these guys at Arizona. These, like I said on an alt account, these guys got titanium balls. These guys just, these college groups that are so scared. And I understand if you're afraid of the backlash, if you're afraid of the backlash, don't do the event. That's basically how I feel. Just don't do the event. But these college events, when they happen, and you're a fellow college event, don't dogpile when you see somebody hosting something like that. Don't throw in your 2 cents and say, I want to show off to all the college campus that I do not stand for this hateful rhetoric, which it isn't hateful, but just keep your mouth shut and let them do their thing. Don't openly disavow. Just be quiet about it, okay? And you'll be on good terms with both sides, you know. I mean, we talk about how the left doesn't leave us alone, but the right thing to do is to just keep your mouth shut when stuff like this happens. And if you're one of those ones that has to talk, then it better be support, because this stuff takes a lot of courage. And hey, it took a lot of money to post this event, okay? I was told, you know, ballpark range, the campus paid about 50 grand to have this event, okay? So that's not nothing, okay? So these people that just, they want to do their clubs, like that's what Turning Point does, ironically. They think that the Milo events are too flashy, too controversial. These guys that host their pizza meetings every week and then don't do any activism, those are the people that are doing nothing. Those are the people that aren't moving the needle at all. So it's just very ironic to hear this kind of pessimism from that side. These guys are just not useful, okay? And when you start seeing events like this, invite your friends. Go check it out, because, you know, there were some people at this Fresno event that I was surprised showed up. Some respectable people that probably wouldn't want it to be known that they were there. And they showed up and they didn't brag about it. They didn't say, look at me, look at me. And I think if young people just understand that this dissident space exists, there is competition to the Buckleyite right, they're going to find it more appealing. Because like I said, the physiognomy thing, you know, that might just be a funny comment to some. There's good looking, cool people, social capital that Thomas talks about going to these types of events. And when people see that happening a lot, that's how you move the Overton window. That's how people like Blake Masters gets, you know, looks better compared to like some of these neocons, you know. People like Paul Gosar, you know, showing up at, you know, something like AFPAC, you know, that means something. Because, you know, these people on the dissident right are not nobodies that stay online, by the way. They're not staying online. They're meeting in real space. And they're not doing anything stupid in real space. So yeah. Maybe a little serious there. Maybe go in a little serious mode. But that's the thing. This was just such a productive thing, okay? It's not this big flash in the pan. So, Arizona. What's that Scorpion song? I don't have the lyrics memorized, but anyways, we're bowling. Hey, that's funny. Hey, that's funny. Let's go. Yeah. Hey, Putnam heads and chat. Yeah, we're not alone anymore. We're bowling together. Bowling together now. So true. So yeah. But yeah. And Jared Taylor, one of the best ones from that era who aged well. Not talking about age like age. I mean, you know, rhetoric and a presence on the college campus. Didn't get swooped up in any crazy internet arcs like some people. So, and from that era too. But yeah, him and Peter Brimelow, those are the guys that do quiet activism behind the scenes, don't ask for credit. And that's the way to do it. Long-term thinking. You know, the people that show up at the H.L. Mencken conference, you know, Darren Beatty, people like that, those are the real players. So I guess that wraps up Arizona. Didn't get a lot of sleep during that trip. It kind of felt like just one long day, if you've ever had one of those. It also kind of felt like I was in Van Halen, because there was a lot of shenanigans, mattresses getting vandalized. There's that funny story where Van Halen vandalized a hotel room. Might have been like a floor, and then they blamed it on Journey. And that energy was definitely present during a lot of during this weekend. So very cool, very interesting stuff happening. What else? Is there anything? Oh, that was my first time having Culvers. You know, the meme with the Culvers. But hey, man, that's a good burger. That's a very good burger, I gotta say. Very good burger. Now that's hot stuff. You know, you want to talk about. Jay Burden update. But yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have had Culver's, but let me think. Can't really compare it to like I don't know. I guess it's kind of like the Fat Burger. I didn't even order like anything crazy. I just wanted something plain, and they like put an excessive amount of meat, which I need. But so that was hey. I didn't get a lot of sleep during this trip, but I did get a lot of eating. So hey, man, we're making it. We're making it. We didn't get Brian. You could say that. You could say that again. You could definitely say that multiple times because I think it's appropriate. Where is the? Here we go. All right. Okay. All right. So what do we move on to? Let me catch up with the chat because I don't want to neglect. Okay, I don't want to neglect. Oscar, is Oscar in here? It wasn't the Butterburger. Did you just join us? I was thinking about some of your insight. By the way, I was writing some notes of some of our regulars here on stream. Mutant. I don't know if you're cool with like us having a dialogue, but whether it's on Twitter or on the show, the choice is yours. But I'm very curious if there is any redemption for jazz because I know you're very hostile towards it. But I don't know, man. I saw your comment. I didn't background check it, admittingly. So you know more than me. But look, man, I don't know. I just don't know if it's as subversive as you think, okay? This jazz hate, I was thinking about this during the trip. I just don't know if this is very productive. And it might get in the way of this show, okay? And it also might interfere with one of our viewers of the show. So that's the thing. I gotta ask if it's really necessary. Not too sure, man. Not too sure. But let me we're gonna get into Megadeth next, okay? So there's your little sample. Let me see. Also, when I think of Mutant, I have to take a second glance because I think, is it, what's his username? Is it Count Dooku? No, it's not. It's not that. Is it Hegel? No, it's not. This one person has had such an impact on the show that it's like co-opting the guest. It's totally derailing the discourse we're supposed to have on this show. So and also, is Edward in here? Is Edward in this chat? Because I gotta give him props on the thread that he put on Twitter. That was really something. But anyway. Oh no. I did not get a haircut. Just liked the crazy girls like Anmar. Yeah, well, yeah, very interesting. You could oh no. So let me catch up with the chat. Thank you, Pete, for stopping by. Really appreciate it. And Chief Trumpster, Charlemagne. What do we got? Yo, base. Yeah, Ludwig knows. Someday, Ace's father is Papa's. Yo, let's go. he based or almost? He is very based. He is very, frankly, he's based and red pilled. Yeah, you could say he's taken the red pill. Show respect. They said the same when I was young millennial. Yo, some mutant lore, some mutant lore. Yo, Vingle and Shad. Vingle, one of the original old heads. You know what's funny? Okay, I'll save it for the Megadeth talk. You know, speaking of jazz, there's a jazz factor that is connected with heavy metal. A lot of people may not know that, but Megadeth was really like a jazz band in its early phase. And you know, Gar, Chris Poland, these guys had jazz chops, and a lot of people neglect the eclectic, you know, music fanatics that, you know, care about all these different factors. You know, Dave Mustaine grew up with Cat Stevens and, you know, people like Elton John. And when you listen to some of the melodic parts of Megadeth songs, I don't think you can divorce some of those like pop or non-metal influences on the genre, because again, you know, music is Hegelian. That's something that needs to be in an article or something, because I just don't think people understand how you get from classical music to heavy metal. They think of it as this separate thing. But we'll get into that in a second. I got to talk about a story from high school, some high school lore. But yeah, Brandon welcoming me back. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate as the psychology of a fake jewelry sales. Yeah, Chief Trumpster's a real human being moment. Okay. We'll get into it. We'll get into Yo, Ace. I know. Somebody else was telling me. I got to. Barack Obama, you know. D and T-77 war against the Jedi. So true. Are we all Culver's respecters? I am. I'm on board. I'm on board with Culver's. Not just for the meme, but unironically. It's I don't even have to separate everything out. Like Burger, I don't mind Burger King, but it's like, you know, I have to separate. I like this, but not really that. With Culver's, it was the full package. So I'm very grateful. All right, it's the hand movements. It's part of the hobby. Hey, that's not true, but it's a couple of things. It's I grew up watching a lot of Italian chads, you know, or at least people playing Italians. Paul Sorvino, rest in peace, by the way. You know, Ray Liotta, also rest in peace. But just all of these Italian gestures, and so that must be an influence on this show. I don't think you can really get rid of that influence. But so true. All right, I think we're gonna get into some metal / jazz lore here, and plus high school. On P-Cell, yeah, there you go. Okay, let's get into Megadeth, because here's the thing. There's some history here. So what do we got here? I'm going through my notes here. Oh, and then I want to talk about my dad's project as a nice conclusion to this whole theme here. So what do we got here? Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was like 2 pages. So, okay. So, for those that don't know, I have an interesting relationship with Megadeth, because when I was in high school, Dystopia came out in 2016. I don't know if it was before or after the election. I think it was before. But this album dropped, and I wasn't very political. And then relative to today, you know, there was this big gap. And so the years since then, since 2016, a lot, everything has changed. Everything has happened. Basically, all my priorities changed. What replaced, well, it's just very interesting, because the Dystopia album is very political, which is timely for the time it came out, 2016, the Trump revolution. And this new album, since, you know, I was apolitical, the band was, And now, talking about Jared Taylor and all this and that, the cozy people, all this that's happened since now, this new Megadeth album is less political. And so, I felt like it was missing something because, I was ready for it. I was ready to understand a lot of these, where's the anti-New World Order songs and this and that. But it really gets at something that we talk about on the show, one of the themes. Because I was listening to this new album and I liked it. I liked it. I liked Dystopia a little bit better, not just for the political take, but I just felt like pacing wise, the songs were a bit more memorable on Dystopia. And this album is like Bryce Talks Metal said, there's a lot of bias towards this being a new album, so I kind of have to wait to get like a complete impression. But my first thoughts is it would almost be a compliment for the band for this to be like not one of their best albums, because for this to be so cool but not quite elite tier, I think that would be like a compliment to their discography. But that's not to knock it, because as long as there's plenty of riffs, that's kind of the criteria. It met that threshold. So it's a great album. It's a great album. But I do like Dystopia. I liked, just like Iron Maiden Killers, it's got Dystopia had that, 4 songs in a row that all mesh well together. And this album kind of has the so far so good so what thing, where it's kind of easy to skip. It's very, my favorite songs are scattered all over the place rather than in sync. So that's kind of the thing there. But I do like it. Okay, I do like the album. But here's the thing. And I was very weirded out by why did Thomas not really gravitate towards Mustaine the way I do. I think that there's a bit of a different approach when we both look at Megadeth. And Mustaine is very, very based, very red-pilled guy. But this album, there's a couple of things where he kind of reveals some of the Boomer Truth regime is present. Because I was listening to songs like Junkie, and I was looking at stuff like Mission to Mars. And not the worst songs, but like Banger TV in their review, they talked about, now is the time to go all in on the politics. And Mustaine even threw in his 2 cents about COVID and how the lockdowns were a big scam and this and that. How Keith Woods, the consolidation of power is really on display. The World Economic Forum and all this stuff. Now is the time to make the Endgame album. But he didn't do that. He kind of just stuck with some of the motifs throughout Megadeth's career, which is drug abuse, stuff like Kingmaker and Burnt Ice. And some of that stuff is personal because it relates to Mustaine's life. But, I was reading like on genius.com, his explanation of some of these themes on the album. He said he was wowed by this TED Talk of talking about space. And, what is it? Celebutants. That one song is about like social media, and like Metallica has a song on their newest album, Hardwired, Moth into Flame. They have a thing about, social media is like warping people's minds and this and that. It's a true statement, but it's very boomer. And it's so like low on the priority scale when we're talking about like thrash metal was supposed to be the people who spoke truth to power, spoke truth to, corruption. And for people to be impressed or to be satisfied with songs like Mission to Mars and Junkie, I just feel like it really gets at some of the, some of the lost potential with some of this album. And, I think that really is the generational divide. The fact that like, Five Finger Death Punch is a part of this Megadeth tour. And here's the other thing too. I wanted to share this article too. Because here's the thing. A lot of people might look at metal as like one big, oh, here, hold on. I'm not even sharing the link here. But let me turn the light on. All right. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. To me, stuff like this is revealing. You know, the media, broadly speaking, doesn't really talk about our thing. We're sort of kept in the dark because they don't really see our music as palatable. That's not really where the youth is. But as we know, the music industry can do whatever it wants. It can make anything popular, and it has. So when I see people like Five Finger Death Punch listed alongside Demi Lovato, to me, I see Five Finger Death Punch as really part of the establishment and not really part of our thing. Even if their music is closer to ours relative to everything mainstream. You know, I was name searching Megadeth to see, you know, what has Billboard talked about us. And I just feel like this really gets at, you know, I remember when Phil said something about, you know, why doesn't Metallica bring some young band? It seems like they just accumulate all the wealth, all the fame, and they're just not really interested in, you know, who's the up and comer nowadays, because, you know, they have no incentive to. They got their success. And I feel like Megadeth is kind of leaning in that same realm. I love Megadeth. This is not, I'm just saying there's a lot of things, there's a lot of potential here. You know, I listened to this new Megadeth album, and I'm waiting for some of the Endgame themes. I mean, Endgame is an album that was literally inspired by an Alex Jones documentary. This was an album talking about how George Bush is going to implant chips into people's brains. And right now, you know, we're sort of living in that dystopia. But I just don't think, you know, he really wants to go there when his priorities are set on something else. And so it doesn't have to be Megadeth that has to fill that void. You know, Megadeth has done plenty in their legacy. So I'm not putting the blame on them. I'm saying for the next, you know, up and comer, for the next new wave of traditional heavy metal band, take notes from this new Megadeth album. Take what works, and then take advantage of some of the themes that are absent, because there is plenty of potential there. And I don't think people look at metal as kind of all these conflicting things, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You know, I defend Dave when he does something like Super Collider. It's a different sounding album. But, you know, there's thrash stuff on there, and so it's not a total surrender. But with this album, I would just expect something. But again, that's a little rambly. I do like the album. And I was also a little too critical of the singles because, you know, I was greedy. I wanted like this very, you know, complicated technical stuff there. But it is there. You know, we'll be back and Night Stalkers, stuff like that. I should be happy with that, and that should be enough. I'm just saying, moving forward, I think that's kind of my take on the Megadeth album. That's kind of a theme that I haven't really seen. You know, but you know, the whole thing about, you know, the sick, the dying, and the dead, it lines up with like COVID, and so that should be enough. Like I said, I should be satisfied. But I don't know. I'm sort of rambling now. But I just see, you know, I don't know. It is a very, you know, he's talking, the themes are all over the place. He is covering a wide range of things, but it's just, you know, it's just not Endgame. And Dystopia was so ahead of the curve. I mean, you listen to the lyrics of like Post-American World and Lying in State. You know what else was funny? I saw this one reviewer. I think it's one of the top reviewers when you look up the new album. And this person, do I have this in my notes? Yeah, excuse me. Where is it? Yeah, he was concerned about like the political direction that things were going in, because you look at Endgame, you look at Dystopia, those aren't back-to-back albums, but it's like this consistent trend. And you know, talking about brainwashing, talking about the New World Order, and, you know, mental slavery. And you know, on Dystopia, it kind of sounds, you know, talking about like Muslims, talking about like immigration, it sounded like you know, it's open to interpretation, but I mean, you read some of those lyrics on Dystopia, and you can really kind of gauge where Dave's coming from. And one reviewer, he said that it was xenophobic, that where Mustaine's head was going, and that's it right there. That's the pitchfork. That's alternative press pivoting to the center. You know, he likes this new album because he's not outspoken about these controversial topics. And so to me, that dynamic is so underreported. Because again, most people just want to listen to their riffs and move on. And so do I. So do I. But there's that little bit of lore. I remember somebody in my chat was talking about, you know, hey Dave, I'm with you. I'm not going to take the chip. I'm not going to take the vaccine and this and that. But I just think, you know, he's said his piece. He's done everything he's had to, converted to Christianity. So again, I shouldn't even critique it, but I want that theme to kind of be in people's minds, you know. This whole thing about, you know, what does someone from Gen X, you know, what do they think are the problems today? Well, you know, these people on their phones and social media and, you know, the drug culture and this and that. You can kind of talk about that in a specific way, but it comes across as like somebody who watches TED Talks. It comes across as somebody who, you know, tunes into Lex Friedman and things like that. I just feel like it's so surface level, you know, not talking about like who really runs everything and things like that. Even like, you know, John Schaefer's project, what is it? Sons of Liberty. You know, it's basically like one big Fed Post album talking about, you know, the banks and Federal Reserve. Even Jeff Tate from Queensryche, he did a solo album that was like about the banks. And so I just feel like there's so much like content, like what Mr. Patriarch talks about with Aaron McIntyre and the Orthodox Christian guest he had. I mean, he was talking about there are so many reactionary potential that metal could take advantage of, but I just don't think. I think like when you're red pilled in the metal sphere, I think it only goes so far because it's stuck. It's stuck in that quicksand of what is edgy to a boomer. What's really edgy? You know, it's the Oliver Stone mindset. You know, I'm going to speak truth to power, and that is Russia. You know, I'm going to speak truth to power, and that's the Republican Party. That's the ultra MAGA GOP. So they don't have the boomers, the Gen X, they don't have imagination. They don't see who's running everything. They don't see, you know, how does politics really work? They think like it comes across like the worst thing that a politician does is he lies. He's not honest with the voters. The problem is they go to eyes wide shut parties. The problem is they literally abuse people. You know, the problem is like they're satanic. You know, they're not just rebelling against their parents, they're rebelling against God. They're rebelling against the natural order. So how about that? How about that for a metal band? A metal band that wants to go out on a limb. But anyways, it's a good album though. It's a cool. I don't think it's better than Dystopia. That's the thing. That's what I'm going to say now. I don't think it's better than Dystopia. But hey, man, it kind of goes back to that 80s sound. Kind of goes back to some of those jazz sensibilities, some of the like progressive elements in the early from the early lineup. And people should do that. People copy this and that band. They combine bands and take that sound, like the new wave of traditional heavy metal. Take like a Tokyo Blade sound and mix it with some of the thrash. But speed metal, you know, Agent Steel. But if you really want to copy something, if you want like a new wave of something metal, let's bring back jazz metal. Let's bring back all this random progressive impromptu tempo changes. Let's do some of that. And you know, you could have like a Les Claypool bassist. There's a lot of potential there, but hey, and you know, this is the time where like people can upload, you know, there's all these shredders online, and so people could kind of mix around with stuff like that. You could go off of people like bands like Cynic, use that as like a template. So anyways, just some things that came to mind, and but anyways, very interesting album, very interesting. What else? But yeah, my favorite song probably Probably Life in Hell. It's probably my favorite. But hey, those singles, man, those singles, I was pretty cynical towards them, but I was wrong. I was wrong. That was my first impression. There's also a lot of like, and this might also go with like the boomer way of like, how do you make a great album? There's a lot, Banger TV said this in their review. And they talked about there's a lot of like intros and outros and like narration and this and that. Life in Hell has narration that they said was unnecessary. I think it just goes on for too long, but a lot of stuff like that. It kind of works on Dystopia where you have Conquer and Die, and then it goes into Lying in State. You know, you have like your moment, you have like your climax in your album, but trying to do like multiple climaxes, it just seems a little try hard. But again, you know, it's not really all over the place. And you know, also something that like I wouldn't have thought of, but like the Dogs of Chernobyl. It's a song about like what was Chernobyl like from the perspective of like families that fled their houses and then, you know, they leave their pets behind because it's, you know, locked down, and also goes with that COVID theme. So to me, stuff like that might even be like on a technical level, like the best song on the album, just because I think it's creative, a lot of imagination there. That is like the peak of boomer imagination, is when he even admitted he was watching that Chernobyl show on, I think that was like on HBO. That probably was like 4 years ago now. But yeah, for him to kind of just like take that show and then focus on one little aspect of it, that's heavy metal. That's where you get some real genius. And but yeah, hey, this Megadeth was a band that in a way I kind of grew up with them. I kind of grew up with this latter era of Megadeth because I didn't know anything. You know, Mustaine was doing interviews with Alex Jones before I knew who that was. And like around 2013, that's when I, you know, helped make Loud Sound Epicenter, the blog. And Dave Mustaine was doing Super Collider around that time. And people were like, what's he doing? What's he doing? And so he's kind of like, almost like going through this like identity crisis in this period. I'm kind of going through an identity crisis, walking away from like playing video games for 24 hours straight and checking out music. And so by the time I get to like 2016, I kind of have my niche. And then that's when Dystopia comes out. I'm still in high school. Iron Maiden's album came out. Why can't I think of the name of it? Oh my goodness. Oh. Book of Souls. Sorry. Book of Souls. And anyways, so that came out too. So it was kind of like, you know, it was like the 80s, you know, Maiden comes out with an album, Megadeth comes out with an album. And then I'm going through that, I'm going through it, and I'm trying to like keep up to date with new albums. But then after Dystopia, you know, all these years go by and it's like I'm kind of getting into politics. And so I'm figuring out this whole different world separate from music, kind of neglecting music at this point. And so now if like a metal band wants to like show, you know, show their cards, so to speak, you know, people like us can kind of wink at it. But yeah, it's like when I heard like this Megadeth album is coming out, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm used to like GTA is taking so long to come out with a new game, and it's like the last time a new GTA came out, 2013, that the gap is too big. I remember thinking like it's been 5 years. Now's the time to any minute we could hear an announcement. And when I heard about this new Megadeth album, it's like, oh yeah, I was in high school the last time this came out, so it's like a whole semester, like I could have gone through high school again in the time that it took this to come out. And that's a whole world of development, it's just crazy to think about. It's crazy the arcs throughout that time period. People I didn't know at the time, people I know now. No, it's but anyways, that's a bit of a personal thing. But yo, bass guitarist in chat. Bass guitarist having a very cool Twitter space with my dad. That's pretty cool. If you ever see, you know, the Twitter account, Rock and Metal Life, if he's in those spaces, just remember, man, give him props. I wouldn't be here without him. So, but anyways, no, it's just my whole life changed in between Dystopia and this album. So it's just a moment of introspection. A little dramatic, but that's the thing. All right. Now we get into like my favorite part of the show, a little more casual. Don't have to like feel like I'm selling the show. But oh, yes, that is a Tamagotchis. You know what? We really got to wrap Tamagotchis because again, it's one of those things from the past that, like I said, with some of the potential that's in these metal albums, a lot of Zoomers just they don't know their identity. They don't have roots. You know, AA talks about how all our stuff is derivative of millennials, derivative of our predecessors. But we really gotta embrace our Zoomer identity. Okay, really got to embrace that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the Jared Taylor speech. Just got to embrace it. So you can't really see the M&Ms are sort of in the way. Oh man. How about that's a little. There you go. All right. Well, what's everybody in the chat? What's everybody in the chat thinking? Somebody was asking, do I have homework to do? I actually did my homework because I'm responsible. I don't go too far yet speaking. Or actually, I did. We don't have to get into that, but tomorrow's class is online. So that's why, you know, when people think about college as this very stressful thing, think about all the stuff like that, this spontaneous stuff. It may not all be hard work in college. So that's my pitch to college, all right? I haven't been on Politically Provoked in so long. Apparently there's been debates, there's been all these shenanigans, so maybe we'll go there pretty soon. But for now, we're just chilling. We're just chilling out. Also, the good times roll on. Also, I'm going to be meeting the man himself, Thomas 777, in Arkansas. So cannot wait. That's going to be in like Friday. So probably one of my last trips of the year. It's been a long year. It's been a long year of trips, but I'm gonna try and mellow out for a while because it's taking a financial hit over here. But it's finally gonna happen. It's one of those things I can't really prepare for it. It just has to happen. So no, it's gonna be the you know, I was wondering if it was gonna happen in California, but hey, look, we're just gonna we are gonna get a picture. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. Go on the Telegram channel. Just stay tuned because it's gonna be good times. I'm sure. But anyways, and also it's Thomas's birthday on the 15th. It is Thomas 777's birthday on the 15th. So keep that date in mind. Spam him with happy birthday props. The guy's earned it. So please remember September 15th. I want you guys to let him know. Let him know. All right. I feel like a lot's happened in this chat. Mutant is Thomas counter signal Mustaine because he has. I don't know. This Yeah, hey, Mutant, we're gonna get into some of the Hegelian stuff. We're gonna get into some of that. So don't you worry, don't you worry. Yo, Brian, 10 days from. So what is that? On the 25th? Did I do the math right on that? From the 15th? So all right. Well, Brian, hey Brian. Let's see if there's a stream around that time. I got to keep that in mind. Not as good as Timer Dave. I don't know about that. Do we have? Ugh. I'm gonna have to. I think I got the. That's somewhere over here. Excuse me. There's so much. Where is it? Where is it? Ah. Uh-oh. Got Ingve. Ted Nugent. Triumph. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, that's the thing. Diamond Dave also revealing some of his shortcomings with, you know, he kind of had his legacy with Van Halen, and now it's just time to relax. That's the thing. The music should never relax. The music should always have young blood, people like bass guitarists on the stage, inspiring young people to do the same so that it stays alive, okay? That's the thing. The thing about bands like Five Finger Death Punch is, you know, these are bands that are trying to be immortal. They're trying to challenge the fact that even though they don't really have a distinct sound, they don't have a classic album that can rival the preceding classic albums, they still have the monopoly on the media coverage. They have a monopoly on what gets played on the radio. And that comes to the detriment of the would-be up-and-comers that could have a sound, are actually listening to more music so that this music can survive rather than stay within this, you know, post-90s alternative quicksand that everything derives from since. And that's why the new wave of traditional heavy metal is so important, is because it's breaking away from that formula. It's breaking the conditioning, pun intended. And it's finding the things that work for metal from the past that is not wedded to all these industry plants, inventions. They just want you in a reclined position listening to the same thing. How about that for like a metal album? There's a lot of metal songs talking about metal itself, like back in the day, you know, that Megadeth song from The System Has Failed. How about a song about like, basically like when Jello Biafra wrote Those Dumb Punk Kids Will Buy Anything? That is so punk to write a song condemning like how things have fragmented since. I mean, that's what metal deserves. And talk about, you know, and Lich King did that. Lich King did that on, what is it, Omniclasm, something like that. That was like a 2017 era album, and they wrote a song, you know, basically calling out Metallica, you know, without naming them, and they're talking about, yeah, all these people say they've returned to form, but, you know, what have you done for us lately? That's the kind of attitude, you know, to be inspired, to be fueled by resentment from, you know, all this plastic, synthetic metal. Now there's an idea. That might turn into an article. I did have kind of an article talking about how metal takes the worst aspects of jazz, the schizophrenic posturing on stage, the you know, the drug addiction. They take all the worst aspects of jazz, turn it up to 11, and then they wonder why people don't gravitate towards it. I think, can I put that in chat? I don't know if you guys saw that one. You guys might be interested in that. That's the kind of commentary I'd like to do for like an outlet or something. Thank you, Tropa de Sombras, for the. Also, yeah, I did a Sam Hyde article you guys might like. Where's the dashboard? So, what do we got here? So this is the music related one. You guys might dig this. Heavy plastic. Cold, shiny, hard plastic. You're not pretending anymore. Yeah, how about that? How about, can we get the Mean Girls metal album? I guess that's like the Miley Cyrus. She kind of did that. But where she had like Joan Jett and some others. And then this is the Sam Hyde article, you guys, due to recent events. Just some free content. Put Nixon on the phone. Yo, mutant. For more M&Ms. Thank Mutant 4.99 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I'm very tempted to go grab some Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I know French Toast Crunch is the Cozy approved cereal, but I might have to cuck for the cinnamon. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to go for it. Yes, Danielle, you're right. 2 pairs of glasses. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Oscar, is your dad a Kiss fan? Well, he liked some of the Kiss songs. He thinks they're a bit overrated. He thinks the 80s era is underrated because there's so much shredding. And I just don't think he's very compelled by Ace Frehley because it's a very 70s style. Whereas, Vinnie Vincent, Bruce Kulick, these guys are shredders. And so he kind of sees them as Ace plus more. And, there's something to be said. Ace did write those solos. And so it's very easy to kind of benefit from his work and then build on it. It's kind of like the Jimi Hendrix thing. Jimi Hendrix, he was one of the first, distorted guitar players that was famous. But his style is very dated. And so to call him the greatest guitar player of all time, he doesn't play, arpeggios. He doesn't play like these neoclassical shredders like Vinnie Moore, Yngwie. So when you see him at the top of like these Rolling Stone magazine best guitarist lists, it kind of speaks on, these people have emotional investment from that era because they're a lot of their culture is from that era. Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Zeppelin. And, maybe Eric Clapton is not really the most technical player. And so maybe that should not make him towards the top. But some people say he's had such an influence that you can't really have what we have today without him. So, it's just all over the place. That's kind of the thing. Boomerism comes with idolatry. It comes with, people don't like this Pantera reunion because what's really important is Diamond Vinny, the people themselves. The music seems to not be the most brilliant part about them. It's really more of them that they defend. And so some might see that as an arbitrary choice. It's both. We like both. But when you see stuff like this reunion announcement and you see lineup changes, it makes you think. It makes you think. What do people really like about this band? Why do people show up to these concerts where the guys are very old and they don't sound the same? It's because the fans like them. They're invested into the people themselves. And if the music doesn't sound so good, well, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. Who cares? It's them. It's the guys on the stage. And I just think that kind of thinking is, the genre is not going to be able to sustain itself with that kind of thinking. That's how you get all these legacy era bands that just, it's not really about putting out new music. It's just about going out and playing the classics, playing the wedding songs, playing it's all about the encores. It's not about the deep cuts. Some might say, well, that's just for like the nerdy autistic types that really want to dive into the albums. But that's just it. I thought we were buying the albums. Because that's what the music is. It's not image. It's not emotional investment into the people themselves. The people are the vehicles. And this gift that they're giving us, these songs, these things are going to survive us. And so sort of looking at music in a spiritual sense, not in any way that conflicts with religious beliefs, hopefully, because a lot of people these boomers treat music like it's religion. And that's where the music's not going to survive, is when, I think it's okay to have a cultish attitude towards your religion, but when you do that for the people themselves, it just causes all this infighting with, no, you can't. The name of this band means something very specific. And so forget about, the songs from these eras. What would, think about the way they talk about it. What would this band member think? It's like they're comparing it to like these religious figures. What we just have to look at it in this very narrow way, because that's what music is. Music is, it's not just a song. It's this lifestyle. It's this way of life. I remember Ice Cube, when NWA got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he said, metal's not really a song. It's not really a genre. It's an expression. It's just an attitude. And an attitude is malleable. An attitude is, we can't pin that down. It can change. And so it's very easy to subversion. It's very too open to be distorted in a wrong way and reduced to something that is not metal. That's where you get pop punk alternative, this nuclear blast, overproduced sound. You need some meat. You need some meat on these songs and from these people. And that's how you'll make timeless music. So that rant went so hard that the Tamagotchi fell off. I'm sorry about that. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. All right. But I love being behind the desk. I love being here. Ace only wears shades to protect his eyes from the Diamond Dave album. That is so true. That is so true. Probably read it tomorrow. Hey, thank you, Ryan Young. I like the premise for the decline of metal in America. Yeah, that's the thing. Metal, outside of its British origins, a lot of the metal that people are familiar with today is very American. Thrash, some of the more aggressive styles came from Florida. Thrash came from California. And Canadian thrash, Canadian bands, Rush. That's just up north, Canada. So it's a very North American thing. And so there's some themes there. There's some themes. The excess, some might look at Americans in the stereotypical way. Some of it is true. Some of it's warranted. The fact that thrash is a little too excessive. They talk a little too much about posers. They talk too much about the genre itself. It's very self-aggrandizing. And, it kind of meshes with that. The Americans that are playing it, the fact that they, some of the fans are very cultish. Some of the fans are very narrow-minded in a way. They take advantage of all of the accomplishments from the past without really being aware of it. Some of the Hegelian stuff going on with the genres, the subgenres. Some of the arcs of people, like Lars. Lars has an aristocratic background. Lars came from a very wealthy tennis player, and he's very much an elite figure. So, but then he's part of Metallica, which is very street, at least early on. Metallica's whole arc is very American. They kind of have a little bit of humble beginnings, with the exception of having this elitist basically masquerading as as a populace. You know, some stuff you could kind of plug in there. But then Metallica becomes mainstream, and then they kind of betray their past and replace it with something very corporate. I mean, there's just so much stuff like that. And then Mustaine is like Metallica is like the thesis, and you know, Mustaine. Okay, we're just gonna put this over here. We're just gonna. And so Metallica is the thesis, and Mustaine is the antithesis. This is a guy who, on that long bus ride from New York, after playing in Brooklyn, he's thinking, you know, the manifestation of what just happened to him, and then he creates Megadeth, and with that becomes something a little more true, because Metallica took some of the riffs, but they didn't take some of the eclectic music. You know, they didn't have the jazz style that Megadeth had in their early era. And so you could just kind of play with a lot of that stuff and kind of make sense of the history, because there's a lot of history. But anyways, it's just like CBGBs. We talk a lot about CBGBs. You know, all those bands kind of fighting each other, musically speaking. I gotta wonder if there's at least one band like the Ramones, Blondie, Talking Heads. Is there a song in there that's like, you know, we're just trying to get out of here. Let's get out of New York and make it mainstream. But also, like we talked about before, like the Runaways. The Runaways is basically like something that like Gen Z could benefit from. This like group of like under 20-year-old, like 20 years old and under group of people that just make this band. And I forgot the name of that documentary, but it's like taking some David Bowie, taking some Sweet, taking some Slade, and you just got this. You get this California sound that's very distinct. But yeah, and then Van Halen, you know, Roth has his Motown, soul, R&B influences mixed with Edwards, Cream, Eric Clapton, Cactus. And they're playing backyard parties, Pasadena. So anyways, that's just kind of the new way I've liked looking at this music, because I knew about Van Halen Rising, that book by Greg Renoff. I knew about that book, but I didn't, you know, to me, it's like, I already like this band, so I don't really have to read it. I kind of get it, listening to my dad, you know, list some of the highlights from it. And, but I mean, if you just kind of have it from this new perspective, like the way the Mutant looks at it, then you can kind of get something a little different there. But anyways, another tangent, oh man, how am I gonna? Yeah, mechanics. How about that? Mechanics is like anti-Metallica in song form, upping the tempo, you know, fast forwarding the riff. Man, playing live is basically just hyperactivity and a certain sense of enchantment that I deliver to the audience to let them know what it would be like to be inside my head. Yo, that's a Mustaine quote. I don't remember that one. Let's go. Yo, American Populace in chat. Let's go. Very cool guy. Got me thinking about California in a way that I haven't really investigated before then. That's true. Yeah, there is something, you know, kind of like this Shia LaBeouf news. You seeing the Shia LaBeouf news? I hope it's not controversial to get a little Catholic on this show. I don't know if we have some Protestants in chat, but well, we have at least one. But I'd like to give me a sec here, because there's something for all Christians here for this one. One sec. You know, I remember Shia LaBeouf was talking about the traditional Latin Mass and how to say it in a respectful way. It's a bit like a performance, because it's like ballet. You know, the I don't know if he's referring to like the pacing, or if he's just talking about the whole, you know, the ceremony in general. But you know, in a way, it's just it is very concert like, you know, or concerts are like the mass. You know, obviously the mass is more important, and I just thought that was it's a very like endearing thing to think of it in that way, and to not critique it because it reminds you of something so modern. You know what I mean? So I just thought, you know, the way that Shia LaBeouf was talking about it, it made it sound like he had a true conversion. And what benefit does he have? You know, what ulterior motive does he have to convert to Catholicism? It's not like that's what all the celebrities are doing. So that's one of those news stories that gives you some hope, gives you some hope. And so like I like to look at concerts in that same way, you know, like Jello Biafra talked about how by the way, I keep quoting him, but I'm not actually like he's a very cringe, paused, anti-religious figure, but he kind of talks about the scene in a way that's accurate. He talks about how punk rock really gave music back to the people. Punk rock was anti-progressive rock, anti-Rick Wakeman. Get us away from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yes, and let's, instead of having like Led Zeppelin on this big arena stage, AOR, like Queen, Freddie Mercury as a vocalist is way up here, and he's elite status, aristocrat. Punk rock is populism. It's just guys like us that just so happen to have instruments. I remember Bruce Dickinson had that quote. I think it was in the 80s. The only difference between the fans of Iron Maiden and the band is we just so happen to be in the band. And it was like it was a compliment, a love letter to the fans. Hey man, we're not so different after all. And that's basically what Jello was describing with punk rock. He said these Led Zeppelins, these legacy bands, like what I'm saying with Five Finger Death Punch. Okay, that's what I'm saying with all these like 1995 and or like 2000s and onward. These bands that are always on the radio, repeatedly. It's the same thing. It's like people get the impression like they breathe different air than us. They're just so smart. They're so genius, and the fans take them so serious. How could you not say they're one of the best? I mean, can you name another band? Well, maybe you could if you listen to something else besides this little narrow thing. And I bet you don't even have all the albums. But anyways, what was I talking about? So with concerts, that's kind of the populist in me. That's kind of the hippie in me. Be careful with that stuff because you don't want it to go against your values. You don't want it to go against your religion. But you know, to see like young, good-looking people on a stage, it makes me feel like there's still people like me out there. You know, it's not. I don't have to worry about, you know, like a band manager, like a Peter Grant figure that is so protective that it, you know, I heard like Joan Jett's manager, I think they're married or something. Or wasn't she gay? So that doesn't really make sense. Well, okay. Anyways. Some of these managers, they just, you've heard this probably a million times. They just swallow up these musicians and then they basically can dictate like all the little things that they do. And so that's what happens with a lot of this music is it gets kind of put into this cave. And the fans do too, because the fans, they love that person. They love them. They'll follow them anywhere. So it's like, okay, I'll do that too. I'll close off my surroundings too with you, the person I really like. And so that's what's so unfortunate. That's why you have to be eclectic to really make timeless music, because it might sound arbitrary that Mustaine listened to Cat Stevens. But when you hear like, you know, My Last Words, for instance, that song, even though the riff is very aggressive and fast and technical, it's a very like up-tempo song, honestly. Like, I mean, just listen to it. It's I mean, there's even a part in that song that sounds like what is it, Ballroom Blitz. It even sounds like that. I think that's Sweet, right? Sweet, the Sweet. But that's the thing. I mean, it's so 70s, it's so cliche, but I mean, some would argue that's the best song on that album. And it's so up tempo, even though it's thrash. And some might say, how do you do that? How do you make that sound? It's so distinct. Well, You can't just listen to aggressive stuff back to back. You know, bass guitarist is a guy who knows the Sunset Strip forwards and backwards. And so when you listen to like his, like if you ever follow him on Telegram and just check out the guy, how he plays, you got, you know, you got like a George Lynch lick here. You got a, you know, a Warren riff there. And you got to see where all this stuff is coming from. And even someone like Nuno Betancourt, I mean, very obvious he's listening to not just metal and all this stuff. Because, again, you can't really confuse his sound with anybody else. And so I guess what I'm saying is, rather than being an elitist in the bookworm sense, it's okay to have some of that. It's nice to kind of be an elitist in culture. And I think when people critique like the consumer Marvelism, there you go, mutant. How about another one? Another one, Christian Slater-ism, Marvelism. Marvelism or marvelous? Okay. Too try hard. But what was I saying? Oh no. But anyways, when people when people critique some of the people that just watch the same thing, comedy, you know, comedy's the same over and over again, SNL is bad and this and that. I think what they're really saying is they want people to be like cultural connoisseurs, like Jonathan Bowden. Like Pulp Fascism. His book, Pulp Fascism, it kind of gives you that perspective of looking at media, looking at culture in this kind of dissident way. So I think you guys just helped me figure something out. So thank you. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right. Marvillians. Yeah, okay. Marveltonians. I kind of like that one. That's pretty funny. Yo, got a cover. Going to enter the Play With Me challenge for a chance to meet Nuno. Oh, let's go, dude. Let's go. Yeah, check that out. Play With Me solo. Play with me in the Bill and Ted with Joan of Arc and Napoleon. Oh man. Yeah, let me get bass guitars. There it is. Hey yo. All right. Hey, follow Bass Guitarist, would you? Please. Check out his content. He's on Telegram. The guy's coming out with new music. That's why you made a TikTok. I understand. A lot of bad influences on there. First Extreme album. Yo, Marshall Forward. Marshall Forward with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have you listened to the new Blind Guardian album yet? I have not. Unfortunately, I'm a big fan of power metal, but real power metal. Bands like Sabaton or Powerwolf. Big fan of power metal, but real power metal. Okay. So I'm curious if you like American power metal, because the Euro style is a lot more what you're saying, Sabaton, Blind Guardian. I remember listening to one of the first two albums. The first two albums are like speed metal, and everything else after that's a little different. So I lean towards more the speed metal sound, personally. Not bands. Oh, okay, not bands like, okay. Yeah, okay, I hear you. Yeah, hey, a band that I really like, I don't know if I've ever gotten into this on the show. Kind of excited to. I really like a band called Virgin Steel. Do you guys know who that is? They didn't really make like a mainstream impact, but this was a band that, how would I compare this? I don't want to say, I want to, because it is very like American power metal sounding, but they kind of they can kind of go in and out of like thrash and then traditional heavy metal. So it's very like, what would be like a good comparison? Let me, or heck, live. Okay, Ice. See, there's kind of some controversy with Iced Earth. I don't know if you would qualify them as power metal. Again, that's kind of goes with the American power metal thing. But Virgin Steel, I like A Marriage Between Heaven and Hell. That dude, that album, even though people might look at it like Use Your Illusion, I think yo, being tastic in chat. Okay, so we got some Virgin Steel respecters in chat. So check this out. Because the thing is, like, as they like their last like 2 or 3 albums weren't really that good. They were also overproduced, and the singer, his voice, they're obviously using effects. So like the arc isn't perfect, but yeah, like Jag Panzer, Heaven's Gate. So, anyways, but that's the thing. I know like Manowar has kind of put American power metal in this very specific category. But stuff like, early Sabotage, early like Virgin Steel, they were really, I mean, they were really having this really distinct sound. And I think they're like from New York. So New York was like all over the place. They had hardcore, they had thrash, and but Virgin Steel had this very melodic sound. It sounded like Iron Maiden. And so to me, it was just so Noble Savage. Noble Savage was another album that I thought was closer to my favorite. The Angel of Light. I love that band. I love that band, and high vocals, like not really Halford vocals, kind of like Sabotage, John Oliva vocals, and oh my goodness, that guitar player. What is that? That guy went on to make his own band, like Jack Starr. Just very, very tasteful sound. Like if Eddie Van Halen was in a metal band, that's the kind of creativity. It's just all this imagination. And that first album sounds like a new wave of British heavy metal album. The sound's not all the way there yet, but it's still good. Like the Virgin Steel title track. It's just this big epic. It's like Gates of Babylon on Rainbow, Long Live Rock and Roll. It's just it's like a fantasy album. And then the second album, what is that? Guardians of the Flame. I wasn't crazy about that. Let me think. And then after that's like Noble Savage. Noble Savage, to me, that's where you get like the sound has been consolidated. They have gotten to this new era, kind of like how Megadeth, they graduated from that early jazz fusion sound, and then Rust in Peace comes out, and they got Marty Friedman, they got Nick Menza. This is the dawn of a new era of metal. Now metal is kind of overly produced, but it's still got the grit. It's still got the technicality. And what we have today is we have the production, but we don't have the technicality kind of goes by the wayside. And with Virgin Steel, their whole arc, by the time they get to Marriage of Heaven and Hell, to me, that's kind of like their Use Your Illusion. It's like, there's not really like a. To me, that's just where they have like, because that's like a double album, I think. And I think the second, I don't know which one I prefer, but anyways, that okay, not to sideline Marshall Forward, but that's kind of what Blind Guardian has is they're bridging these two different worlds. The power metal that is mainstream and it's popular in Europe. That sound is kind of in Europe, but you want to keep that backbone. The backbone is thrash. Don't forget your heritage. Blind Guardian came from speed metal, and so that's what you want to preserve. You don't ever want to graduate from that sound. And in a way, that's kind of what Virgin Steel did in their latter 2000s, post 2000 albums. Kind of got away from the humble beginnings, speed metal mixed with thrash, and then showing some respect for melody. That's kind of what Blind Guardian had. I don't know about this new album. I don't think Blind Guardian had the arc, the full arc that Virgin Steel did, but that's the thing. I understand, like, speed metal and thrash. What's the difference? There is a difference, and if you confuse the two together, that's how you get bad music. So that's the thing. Just having that awareness of how do you dance between those two worlds. I think that's where a lot of like these bands that get overproduced, they sort of miss that. They sort of miss that nuance that those early 80s. Why were the 80s thrash albums so distinct? It's because it was coming from this type of, it was a specific type of culture expressing itself. And you can't get the same guys in a bunch of room. If you know that band Metal Allegiance, it's got like someone from Testament, it's got someone from Megadeth, and I think someone from Dream Theater, and it's this big coalition. Oh my gosh, this is going to sound amazing. And then you listen to the album and it sounds like it's all outside writers. It sounds like Aerosmith's Permanent Vacation. And it's almost like you don't even have to speculate. You don't even have to do the background check. Was there somebody who wrote all these songs? It sounds like it. You can't just put all these guys in one room and expect to get something magical. It's not just lightning in a bottle. That's the other thing. It's not just, oh, this band peaked, and so they can no longer peak anymore. It's over. I feel like some people say that, like when Super Collider came out, I'm sure people said Megadeth, look, they did some 80s metal, they did some modern metal, and now they're trying this new thing because they peaked, and it's over. Don't expect anything to rival Rust and Peace. But that's not true. I feel like if you just have a certain mindset, if you have a perspective, and you know where all this stuff comes from, that's where you get good music. That's why Striper, even though they're people think that they're just a Christian metal band, these guys sound like Blind Guardian. They sound like some of the speed metal from the the American power metal. I mean, they're using all these different influences. That's why you should check out what is it, Yahweh, and what else? What was that newest album? One of their newer ones. Anyways, so some people might say they think they know everything about Striper because they know about Soldiers Under Command. But I mean, check out what's happening. The type of music they're making now is kind of closer to the brilliance that a band like Virgin Steel lost. They're capturing it, and it's their style, it's their direction. But people who think this music it disappears, that's because the people stop getting invested in it. So that's the thing. Ted on stage on that show, leopard camouflage coat, full beard. Yo, let's go. Yeah, let's go, Ted Nugent. Didn't I just yeah, weekend. Are we weekend warriors or what? Are we weekend warriors? How about that? The wild man. Motor City Madman. Yo, stay empowered, Brian. Yo, let's go. Yo, Brian's leaving? Hey, man. Happy early birthday, but I'll try to remember next time. Yeah, we got David the Gnome in here. David the Gnome. Blah. Yeah, Good Friends and a Bottle of Wine. That song is a little too boomer for me. It's a little too 70s. To me, the 70s is Free for All. The 70s is not Foghat, Fool for the City. The 70s is Back in the Saddle, Aerosmith, that grit, that aggressiveness. And when you have a little too much of the, cowbell influence, that's where you start to get into cliche territory. We want to avoid that. But yes, have a good night, Brian. Doggy dog. That's right. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Meatloaf. We love Meatloaf. Crimson Glory. Yo, hey, that second album, Transcendence, that was my community college, the soundtrack to my community college days. I just love that album. Maybe the first album is technically better, but I didn't listen to it as much as that second album. My goodness, In Dark Places, that subtle, moody vibe. It's just, do you know what I'm talking about? That is such a dark riff. It's not a technical riff. And this is a band that does speed metal. Oh my goodness. Midnight. My goodness, Midnight. That singer, my goodness. With the masks, with the one piece of mask missing, it looks like Phantom of the Opera. Oh my goodness. By the way, I just saw History of Violence by David Cronenberg. We can talk about that. Just want to throw that out there before I launch into this next tangent. But yeah, oh my goodness, Transcendence kind of starts with like an anti-woman song. It starts with the, what is it, Dragon Lady? There's that, no, Lady of Winter. Dragon Lady's on the first album. I think, doesn't Dragon Lady have all this like stereotypical Asian insults, femme fatale? That's pretty funny. But yeah, Lady of Winter. That is such a clean opening track. And then you get you get the anti-communist song, you get Red Sharks. Man. Red Sharks. And then that last song, like the title track, Transcendence, it's got the acoustic intro. That is like my favorite song, honestly. Some people might look at that as like filler. Oh, they're just winding down. But no, to me, that is such a moody. That's like Trouble, the doom metal band, Christian also, by the way, Trouble. They ended their Manic Frustration. That's either like the fourth or fifth album, around there. They ended that album on this Pink Floyd sounding song, Look Into the Eyes. What is that song called? It's got, and then they play Donovan. They play Donovan towards the end. They cover it. Not Hurdy Gurdy Man, the other famous Donovan song. What is that song called? That's one of my favorite closing tracks, but it's been a while since I've heard it. Of the Human Race. Man, it is such a dramatic ending. But to me, that kind of climax is similar to Transcendence, even though it's a bit more not really as what would you call it? Not really as dramatic, because it sounds like an outro song. It sounds like the afterthought to like end like a bigger song, but it's got that mood. It's got that mood. Oh, I can't remember the name of that song. I'm gonna look it up. What do we say? Hold on. Well, let me first find the Trouble. By the way, check out Trouble. For people who think that Christian rock is Stephen Carson, Radlib, was saying how, don't make mediocre Christian music, That's not, how does that help us? Make something that's, make like music. He didn't say this, but make music that would like make someone want to convert because it's so compelling. But excuse me for the clothes I wear. Where is that song? Breathe. The song is called Breathe. It's almost like 6.5 minutes long, but it's very Pink Floyd, very psychedelic. Love that song. All right. Why? Yeah, White Stallions. Yo, let's go. Let's go. Marsha Ford, another $4.99. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. You're funding the show here. Appreciate it, man. Have you ever listened to Heaven Denies by Demons and Oh, Demons and Wizards? That's got John Schaefer and the guy from Blind Guardian. It's honestly one of my all-time favorite metal songs. Really? Okay. I should. You'd think I'd know about that by now, but I wasn't really into Iced Earth for the longest time, so I don't really know. But I'm gonna check that out tonight. So thank you for that. Thank you for. But yeah, Demons and Wizards. I think they're also kind of in that same ballpark of knowing the nuances of thrash and power metal. That's actually like the perfect example because you got those two guys from two different bands, two different subgenres. People say it's all metal, but it's two different subgenres coming together in one band, and it doesn't sound like Metal Allegiance. So why is that? It's because these guys are definitely not outside writers making the music. The Trouble song. Down in the ocean, she will be, and it will be. Oh my God, Richard Crook. I'm sorry for blaspheming. Excuse me. But, oh, dude, that is so... Who in the world knows about that song? Because it's not, everybody loves Psalm 9. Everybody loves The Skull. But, oh my goodness, that Manic Frustration, that album's kind of slept on by the sleeper. But that is such a, fear. And, yeah, excuse me. Touch the Sky. Come on, baby, touch the sky. Let's go, man. Because I think Down in the Ocean, that's the Donovan part of that song. I think it's technically not Trouble. But that is such a... Who would think to do that? Put like a cover of the song in the middle of a song? That's the kind of brilliance. Because like rappers do that with sampling. But this is like, pick a song that fits the mood of an original track, but mesh it. The Elvis movie kind of tries to do that, but and that's a decent effort, but that's just mama. It's just I know. But you gotta be a little more nuanced. You can't just, we want to mix rap and rockabilly. Well, let's just have a rapper sing the rockabilly song, or let's just put them in the studio and things just work. You gotta understand where it's coming from. So Richard Crook, VIP in chat. Trouble is amazing. Run to the light. Let's go. 1990 album. Oh, never cared a lot for Manic Frustration. Okay. It's a bit of a not bluesy song, but it's like a hard rock. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a hard rock album. Listen to like Excuse Me and Touch the Sky. Very not doomy, not metal-y. It's just bare bones. And so it's a bit of a departure from the first three-ish albums. Man, that's that band. That's the band to show people like that is Christian metal. Country favorite Christian. Okay, interesting. Subject to change. Yo, Shadow of Death. I forgot how that one goes. That's the System Has Failed. Let's go. Are you on the latest Mind Phaser? I think so. I think that's where we talk about. What did we talk about? We said some pretty unflattering things about the Claremont Institute, but what was our topic? I think we were talking about Nixon yet again. In the middle. Oh, man. That cover, that's heavy on bass. Oh, dude, I got to check that out, Subject to Change. In the middle of that. Oh, Mars Volta. Oh, okay. I haven't really gotten into them, honestly. I don't really know who they are. It's heavy on bass. Oh, I got to check that out. Bobby Valentine. Yo, let's go. See, that's cool. See, and that's the thing. I gotta learn some stuff too. So that'll help me communicate this a little bit better. But let's go. Richard Crook, are you in the Telegram? Are you in the Discord or something? Because you got us. You got us. You Nixon film me. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Okay, we got any are we Nixon pilling people in chat? My goodness. We need to do a bass stream. Yo, let's go. Do some Les Claypool shenanigans. It's definitely more rock. The self-titled album is the other really good. Oh, yeah, that's right. The self-titled album. The Wolf. So Tom's the other. Used to hate the man now I got a lot. Yeah, that's the thing. That's part of the boomer truth regime. Who are the people you're taught to hate? One of them is Nixon. Some people say the Nixon era kind of ushered us into like Trumpism, this hyper partisan era of politics. Before then, you could have Dixiecrats and paleocons kind of meet in the middle. If you like the history of violence, yo, what is it, Fessel Goose? Eastern Promises will be Kino too. Cronenberg and Vigo. Yo, let's go. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, I was very impressed. I bought Transcendence when I was 15. I can only imagine. Because of the cover. Yeah, that cover. I don't know. I don't know if the cover's blasphemous. I don't know. I can't really tell what's going on, but I'm not sure. Cowbell tyranny. I know, dude. So true. So true. Free for All, most underrated. White Sounds was the artist name I used on the working title. Oh, okay. Interesting. There's that rapper who calls himself a staff. That's pretty funny. Yeah, David the Gnome. David the Gnome knows. Yeah, Mars Volta, I don't think I've listened to any of their albums, so. Oh man, the whole gang's here. Oh, I believe Mars Volta's old drummer is now with Queens of the Stone Age. Oh, okay. I liked that one Queens of the Stone Age song. They're a little too all over the place for me, but oh man, what was that song called? I'm gonna manually look through their discography to find that one song. I don't think it'll take too long, so don't worry. But oh my goodness. Was it what the I'm actually not sure. But anyways. Yo, just Jimmy's with 4.99. Hey man, an old head in chat. Thank you for 4.99. Greatly appreciate it, man. You're the man. You've you always got me thinking, man. Good stuff. What's I was gonna ask you about something. Oh my goodness. Were we talking about it? Go with the flow. No one knows. Oh, go with the flow. That's what it was. Go with the flow. Is that like their? Am I like a normie? Is that like their most mainstream song? I just feel like that has such good pacing. Let me check our DMs. What was I? Oh, the Metal Sledge thing. I haven't even talked about that yet. Oh, what were we talking about? All right, we'll find out. Anyways, I'll ask you. If I. One day as a lion. Yo, one day. Mars Volta quoting Mussolini in a song. Is that what I'm seeing in chat? Those are their two biggest early songs. Okay, yeah, okay. You have a good Hegelian music taste. So true. My cozy chat, my cozy little chat. Richard Crook. I don't have a Telegram. I didn't even have internet or home until a couple years ago. Oh, really? Wow. Our guys, greater than sign. All right, I gotta check some of your guys' chats. Marriage of Thrash and Spiel. Yeah, Beantastic. Beantastic gets it. English people are too cynical and call it cheesy. They won't take a paper mache sword to a concert. So true. I know. These people, man, they just don't get it. Imagine not bringing your Viking your Viking props to the show. Doug the stream as usual. You all stay handsome or so true. Stay handsome or else. Yeah, that's I just man, Richard Crook, man. Power plant by Gamma Ray. Yeah, let's go. What was that one with the guy from Halloween? I think he also had it with Ralph Sheepers too. Was that Gamma Ray? Was that a Gamma Ray album? Let me check. Yo, Matthew LeClaire, thank you for tuning in. Let me think. Was that heading toward to tomorrow? Oh, I don't think they have all their albums on Spotify, so maybe I'll have to consult. Yeah, heading for tomorrow. Did that have Ralph Sheepers? Who is now in Primal Fear? Yeah, it did. Let's go. Is that them on the cover? The two of them? It's literally just them with sunglasses on, dark blue backdrop. That's all you need, man. That's all you need. Don't overthink it. Judicator is also okay. I didn't even know about them until Aaron McIntyre interviewed them, so that's cool. They just played Extreme just played a small festival with Ingve, Striper, Queensryche, another big band's very close to me. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I think Spurious Ways, my favorite. What is that? Volition had some pretty epic themes. Wait a second, Matthew. Am I not spelling this right? I'm looking like later in the chat, so Spurious Ways. I can't quite remember what that was. Yeah, polished, and I'm sure people warm up to the polished style, so it works on those two levels. Which our generation was raised on better music. So true. Yeah, American populace. That's the thing. That's the thing. But nobody knows exactly how to get it back. So that's what this show is going to do. We're taking back not just our country, but our music. We're taking back our culture, our way of life. Peter Grant. Peter Grant, his physiognomy gave it away. Well, I actually think Peter Grant, I just meant like his archetype, like this big brooding manager. But he actually took care of Led Zeppelin. So I actually think he did a good job. But as far as the managing, but like when people do that to the point to where they're like isolating the artist, that's the issue. Peter Grant himself, I think he understood how the business. He was kind of like a Machiavellian. He was like the Henry Kissinger of the music industry. Maybe that makes its way somewhere into an article. Richard Crook, the Cellar. Yo, let's go. Out of the Cellar, and then the first Extreme album was the last prominent metal band to do anything exciting. Interesting, Matthew. There's this really cool Welsh folk metal band. Playing live. Yo, let's go. Let's go. Alice in Chains without Lane. It's the taste, you can see. Guilty Pleasure is Love Gun live solo. No, that's a cool song. It's a cool song. Yeah, Beantastic. Beantastic. Michael Kiske. Amazing take on Grant. Kissinger of the music. Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. True in multiple ways. But I didn't really intend for it to go in that direction. Came out so long. Not Unisonic. Like what Halloween did with that tour where they brought back their Michael Kiske and the singer they had after, and then Kai Hansen. So you got the three singers. Because on Walls of Jericho, it was Kai, not Kai Clips, not Kai Schwimmer. We're talking about Kai Hansen, like a German guitarist, okay, bringing out some of that Nolte, some of that Unger influence into the music. I speculate, but having that German energy, all that German energy on stage. I mean, that's how you get Pumpkins United, okay? Pumpkins uniting the Hegelians. That's what you got to have. You don't want egos. You don't want to resent all the different eras. Like, you don't want resentment towards certain when like there's a new singer or a guitarist lineup change. The fact that Halloween basically like put all their cards on the table and just did this tour. That's the kind of energy that metal should be. It shouldn't really be this like vindictive blood sport. I mean, in a way, like musically, kind of that like Metallica versus Megadeth thing. But you don't want to be like spiritually corrupted over, hatred of this and that. This is why you trust the Zoomers. You only get takes from the Zoomer. Zoomer reactionaries. Oh, let's go. Guilty Pleasure, Detroit Rock City. The movie. I actually haven't seen the movie. But I heard that's like a Dazed and Confused. That's like what's that guy who made Boyhood? He does all these like just kind of loose, casual hangout movies. But yeah, rock and roll high school. Rock and roll high school. So true. Detroit Rock City. 1999 Blockbuster rental Kino. Yo, from Blockbuster. Pumpkins United. Can't wait for October. We can have like a Halloween setup in here. What's your favorite of the Seattle Four? Not a huge fan of any of them, really, but I'm curious what you think. Honestly, I think it's Alice in Chains, but really Soundgarden is not too far behind because Soundgarden is a band that's a little more personal to me. Audioslave was one of the first bands I really got into intimately. But I mean, that doesn't mean I listen to all the songs on an album, which I guess is like a bygone thing to do. But I really connected with like, the band members and this and that. The music videos were so Show Me How to Live, which has some like religious lyrics in it. The Show Me How to Live music video is pretty cool. But anyways, yeah, Alice in Chains is the closest to metal, and that's the closest sound that I like. It also sounds very doom metal-ish. It sounds like Trouble, which makes you wonder, did grunge come about because of this Melvins, this kind of like doom metal inspired what was that type of music called? This really like grungy sounding metal. It makes you wonder if even grunge itself was not original because it came from all this, heavy stuff, even if their music wasn't really that heavy. But what was I saying? So like Alice in Chains is kind of like the obvious response, but I don't know. Soundgarden, like that first Soundgarden album sounds like, sounds doomy. And I like Chris Cornell's voice. I like it. I think it's cool. And he goes high. goes very high. But Lane Stanley is just, you know, what a great voice. And but yeah, Dirt, and yeah, the debut, man, the debut. It seems like people kind of neglect the debut a little bit. But yeah, no, Soundgarden, super unknown. You know, to me, Pearl Jam is kind of like they embody everything that's wrong with, you know, post 90s music, because they got 10, which is, you know, whatever. Yeah, it's got some cool sounding stuff on there, but then they just completely, you know, turn into like this Neil Young folk rock. I don't know. Eddie Vedder's just kind of like a strange character. I don't know if this is true. Is it true that Kurt Cobain didn't like Eddie because he saw him as like a faker? And that's the thing. Like Eddie Vedder comes from like a wealthy family, and just like Lars, he's sort of an aristocrat masquerading as this street cred. You know, I'm like a guy who grew up in poverty type archetype, and there's kind of a little story there. There's kind of a little arc that you could. You guys are helping me. You guys are helping me out. I appreciate it, but all these guys that want to look tough and, you know, turn off the lights. This isn't a rock concert, or this isn't an MTV video. And it's like Lars, Eddie Vedder, all these people that came from wealthy families, and they get involved in this new music that becomes, you know, big. But then they eventually go back to their aristocratic roots. Metallica, they go back, they become mainstream, and then they water down the sound. Same with Eddie Vedder. Okay, I did my grunge album, I did 10. Now I get to be the celebrity. I get to be the Neil Young. And we're not talking about Trans America Neil Young. We're talking about, and that's sort of ironic because Neil Young has that song. What is it? This One's For You. Don't Sing for Pepsi. Oh, I could kind of. Oh man, I kind of have a little thing there. There's a little bit of. There's a little article in there. That's kind of interesting. I never really thought of it that way. I just saw it as like, you know, this grunge is fake. Seattle's fake. And then Nirvana. Even though I'm a Zoomer, I just don't have like a strong connection to Kurt Cobain. I know Steve Saylor has that interesting article talking about that Chuck Klosterman book, the 90s, talking about how, you know, Kurt Cobain kind of has this, he was kind of vindicated on his anti-corporate stance, even if you want to say, you know, he took the money and he did the shows, so what are you complaining about? But the fact that you have like a mainstream figure who is kind of anti-corporate in a way, his critique of capitalism is kind of more relevant today in this, you know, 21st century era. And so that's kind of a refreshing take, because there's not really a lot of anti-corporate sentiment in music today. So the fact that Kurt Cobain was kind of like the last distinct rock star in the last distinct decade of American culture, the 90s, it just kind of seems like the end of an era with all that stuff. In the 80s, it was cool to sell out. And then in the 90s, there was this stigma attached to it. Oh, you know, be careful who you are as a musician. You don't want to look like you're chasing the spotlight. But then it kind of seems like we went back to the 80s. You know, we want everybody to like us. We want money. We want the mainstream crowd. So I don't know. People say like Bleach is like a metal album. I don't know. It's been a while since I've heard it. I remember it being heavier than I thought, but whatever. If someone puts it on in the car, I'm not offended by it. But Nirvana's just not really part of my story getting into music. They're kind of like the Beatles, you know. I understand they were influential, but not really part of my interests. They're just kind of there. And the sound is very dated. The Beatles, grunge, very dated. So that 60s, 90s alliance of mediocrity, it's just waging a war against the stuff that I like, some of the metal. progressive rock. Anyone remember Garth Brooks' alt rock persona? Oh, see, I'm not too familiar with that. Kurt Cobain, the Noam Chomsky grunge. That's actually very true. Yeah, says he claims he's a man of the people, fight the power, but actually he accepts all of the lies that come with the mainstream media that he alleges he's against. Yeah. He wants approval from like a progressive audience. I thought the In Utero album cover was funny. Oh, is that what that was? I didn't know about that. Interesting. Thank you, Richard Crook. Richard Crook, where do I talk to you, man? Where? Put your something. Put your Telegram or something, man. I don't know about this lore. I don't know about it. Unless you saw the fake VH1 behind the music for Chris Gaines. No, I'm curious. I'm curious what's going on there. Good night, Richard. Mother Love Bone, like Pearl Jam. Interesting. Probably doesn't qualify as grunge. Okay. Hey, Mutant really likes Phoenix. He really likes Phoenix. That's a song that's like very psychedelic, kind of a deep cut. Man, chat in peak form tonight. Yeah, I know. The chat is. This is great. This is great, man. What is it? What's the. What do we got for the. Bum, bum, bum. I just got followed by Gunt Cell, Gunt Advocate. Man. All right. What do we got here? Okay. Yeah, he did. He played with him. I don't know if there's a feud. I actually don't know. Oh, good insight. I thought you said good night, Richard. I was confused. The live version on the B side. Oh man. It's on YouTube. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Never played the same song. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why Slayer doesn't really not really impressed by Slayer, because it's just, to me, that's they kind of embody the problem with thrash is, and I mean, just I don't know. It's a one thing pony, because it's just not. It's like a big blowout. I don't know. That might be a controversial take, but Slayer's just not really something I'm gonna listen to. I like the other thrash. I like Annihilator. I like Pariah. Richard, do you know Pariah? I bet you know who Pariah is. With the singer's name is Michael Jackson. Pariah, man, that's the kind of stuff that like politically minded thrash fans could go for, because it's like literally it's kind of like Fed posting, but they're just like, these politicians, man, something's got to happen. It's very Creator is the same thing. Creator is the German Slayer. It's just not really good. Not really. Oh, you guys play really fast. Wow. It's just love fries. See, Richard Crook. Richard Crook's my guy. Richard Crook. Sodom. See, Sodom kind of has that same problem. It's just all, I don't know. And then their newest album is like Nuclear Blast. It's like, oh my goodness, it's just, you know, how many times do we have to learn this lesson, old man? It's not about how fast you play. That's not. It's not what. That's not what this is. That's for punk fans. That's. Yeah, the thing about Show No Mercy is, I mean, it's basically like a new wave of British heavy metal album. So it's like, if you want to listen to stuff like that, check out new wave of British heavy metal. That's the thing. That's just, um, what do we got? What do we got? I feel like I missed some of your guys' stuff. Yeah, Pariah. What's the one? Well, you got, oh man, why am I blanking on these names? What's the one with the, what's the one with, um, I think it's like technically an EP. The Kindred, yeah, the Kindred. Scapegoat. That long intro, Scapegoat, and then you get this howling vocals from Michael Jackson. And yeah. I went like this. I went like I forgot the name of it, forgot the name. But the album that I like, what's the one? The Brotherhood. Join the Brotherhood. Join the Brotherhood. Oh man. What is that album called? Oh, Blaze of Obscurity. That's right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The Puppet Regime. That is such a fast song. Oh man, oh man. They didn't want to be pigeonholed. Talk at least of the curve during the 80s. They were just don't play fast and went for other dynamics. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's where, like, what I'm saying with the new Megadeth album, like, Metallica had on Ride the Lightning intros and this and that. But I feel like there's like an excessive amount of that stuff on the new Megadeth album. But like with Metallica, it's kind of perfect because you have the acoustic intro and Fight Fire with Fire. And then it's like, okay, there's your little sample. But then at the end with Call of Cthulhu, it's like there's your real climax. There's your real. It's brilliant. Telepathy. Great dual guitars. Yeah, that's true. That's the other thing. It's two guitar players. My goodness. There's a part. This is, oh man, I can't play it on YouTube, but there's a part in Scapegoat. Here, hold on. I'll be able to narrow it down. At this point, this is the Richard Crook show. This is. The Pup Regime. That's like a beating around the bush. It's like a fast AC/DC riff. That's what that song. Oh, those are not lyrics. Hold on. There's like Metal Archives, right? Oh no. Well, can I go on like Metal Archives? There's a point that's always stood out to me. Please. Oh, they don't have them. They don't have them. Anyways, okay, so you get your long intro, and then for the first time he sings, and blah blah blah, and then he does the chorus, or I don't think he does the chorus, but then it goes back into the shredding, And then when they go back, the singer yells. He yells so loud, and then he goes back into his regular voice. And it's just so it's not the first set of verses in Scapegoat. It's the second one, the second like paragraph. And he starts off with a scream, and then he goes right back into it. And it's just so funny. But I like it. It's metal. It's awesome. Ever seen the European Girl Band? What the? No, I don't know who that is. Really just seemed like an excuse to. Yeah, maybe that is. Maybe that's. You're probably right. If you have to wonder, it's probably that. Did early Meshuggah ever cut it for you? That's the one. They're the ones that like started really thrashy and then got modern. Is that right, or is that Gojira? I get those two bands confused. I'm not sure. I'll probably give it another try. Thank you, Commissionary, or what is it? Commissary. Let me watching them blast it. Probably. Wait, subject to change. What? Am I about to go like 24 hours without eating? This is not ideal. Paul Fahrenheit's going to give me so much guff. Yo, did Accept leave Nuclear Blast because it was too overproduced? Because their new albums are really something. They got an album about Stalingrad. So, and their albums do sound modern. It doesn't sound like Breaker or Restless and Wild, but I mean, it's that nuanced. It's that subtle, a little bit of the old school, a little bit of the new school, and that's kind of what Megadeth has been doing, like with Dystopia. Here I want to scroll up to see if I missed any of your guys like non-super chat questions. Oh, bass guitarist, if you're still here, yo, Marshall Ford knows Noble Savage. We're so back. I'm gonna shill some metal lore in the Telegram, so that's why I want you guys and Richard Crook. I want you guys in there to help me develop all this. It did Judicator did dedicated to the Byzantine Empire general. Have you ever heard or given your take on Gwar? Can't remember. Gwar is kind of, I mean, I don't know. They're kind of all over the place. I saw them live. I think I got something squirted on me. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But I haven't really gone back since, so that kind of tells you something. Canary. Oh, man. What's the Pariah song that starts with gerrymander? Gerrymander. Oh man. To me that's like the perfect sound. He kind of has that singer, Future World. What is that band called? Oh my goodness. I can picture the album cover. Pretty Maids. Yeah, it kind of has that vocal style. Pretty Maids. Yeah. Hey, whenever you're feeling black pilled, whenever you're feeling blue pilled for knocking over the M&Ms and the Tamagotchi, just remember. The opening track to Noble Savage is like this. It's like this anthem. What is it? We rule the night. We're ruling the. Well, not really, but that is like your pump up. That's your Sam Hyde entering the boxing arena pump up song. So very, very optimistic, very white pilling song. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to balance this. I'm about to. So there's that. You still have the shirt that got covered in Fable? Yeah, that's funny. Subject to change. Have you ever listened to teenage thrash band Hammerhead? Oh, I thought you were saying Hammerfall. Hammerhead. Oh, wait a second. Yes. Those are like Japanese kids, right? Wait a second. Hold on. No, they're not. No, that's super cool. That's cool. I forgot all about these guys. Thank you. I wonder how old they are now. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize they were that popular. There you go, man. Now that is Zoomer energy. Now that is bringing metal to the new generation. Man, oh man. I'm actually not going to talk about Metal Sludge. We're sort of in a different headspace, but yeah, bass guitars. I'll send you like to me, okay, Virgin Steel, my favorite Virgin Steel song. I don't even have to think about it. It's got to be the Raven song. To me, as far as pacing, it is like everything I like about metal is in that song. You got your, here's the thing, just like set the world afire and Scapegoat Pariah. You got this elaborate intro. You know, you got two riffs basically, and then you got the singer kind of winding up. He's doing a little bit of screams here and there, kind of like what John Oliva does, the real quickly, and then moves on. And then you finally get, oh man, what is that guy's name? I can't even. He looks Hispanic, but he's probably white. He's kind of got the Joey Belladonna energy going. What is that guy's name? Because I think he's one of the last consistent members. Yeah, David Defies. That's right. But anyways, he then he does one long like Halford scream, or it's really like a Jeff Tate scream. That's more accurate. And then you get into your main riff, or actually you get into your main riff, then you get the scream, and then you get the song. And then when you get to the solo, there's a break right before, and you get your two-handed solo. And then after the solo, you get your little breakdown, and then you close the song off with higher screams. So it's just, to me, it has the whole formula in that one song, the Raven song. And it's on the, I think that's on part 2 of Marriage of Heaven and Hell. But yeah, that's just so wake up screaming every night. And then Prometheus, there's your like your epic song. Oh man. But hey man, you got some Christian stuff. You got Last Supper. Man, what an album. Wake Up Screaming is like your perfect second song, your second rocker song after your elaborate intro, like after your We Rule the Night type intro. What is it? I'll be there for you. But I think Wake Up Screaming is like towards the end of an album. But anyways, that was just, to me, it's such a shame that like that song is kind of buried, the Raven song. And you know, it's from a band that's obscure, but it really does show a lot of the highlights of the genre. American White. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Subject to Change. Thank you. All right. Oh, David the Gnome. Yeah, it's a metal. Yeah. I just realized, you know, that might be a bit of there may not be a lot of interaction from the audience just because it's so specific, and I'm talking about bands that aren't even like mainstream, so bit of obscure. Yeah. Thank you, David the Gnome. That is funny though. The only bands. Yeah, that's the other thing. WWE kind of got people into metal. It seems like even Nick was talking about. Yeah, the WWE got him into Motorhead. That's just cool. That's just cool stuff to hear. Connection, promote a band. Good song. First Speed, Thrash Fix. That metal. That's true. That's like what Billy Pratt says. You know, men. This might sound crazy to some of the gals, but in a way, men are just kind of like isolated into these ghettos. All media is for women. All media is clean. It's all mainstream and buttoned up. And what made the Attitude Era of WWE so prominent was it's because the punk rockers, the metal fans, they finally had a place to spill their beer everywhere. They had a place to really just be themselves. And for just briefly summing this up, that's why things like Sam Hyde are so important, and like why it's disappointing that Adult Swim surrenders to pressure, and even people like Andrew Tate, who I'm not like really invested in. It's like, man, we can't have anything. We can't have any figure that is unorthodox, because all media, the managerial nature of media, is also feminine. It's a very feminine threat, and so maybe that really is like the fight when we criticize the press. Is it really is the masculine energy trying to tame the feminine beast. The very we're trying to tame Eve before destroying the Garden of Eden. Maybe that's why the fight against MSM is just so nasty. It's because it's really a war of the sexes is what we're really up against. Evolution theme song by Motorhead. Yeah. No way to have it. Wait, what? To the boss man daughter. Yeah, that's true. When you marry the boss's daughter, you get to bring Motorhead on your behalf. Talk about power. That's wild. All right. I think we're going to wind down. I'm becoming self-aware of how like this really is like me, Richard Crook, and Mutant Stream. It's really like a triple alliance, but which is so nice. Yeah, so true. But I appreciate people taking the time to check this out. But yeah, hey, we'll have another update for the after we see Thomas, after we see some of the guys. We'll have another back behind the desk video. Pariah were originally well, that's the thing. I don't really like that band. To me, the vocals it's all wrong. The vocals are all wrong. It sounds like that new wave of traditional heavy metal band. What is it? It starts with a C. Hegelian Alliance, so true. What is that? Oh my goodness. What those guys that have like that pristine, clean voice. I don't know. I don't really go for that. Might be worth checking out Suspended Sentence. See, I think I tried some of that. I don't know. I know it's like the same people, but it's just the vocals are just different. Let me try to find the here's the thing, Richard Crook. That the singer just sounds like, what is that band name? And it seems like they're one of the ones that get promoted. It's like heavily melodic to the point where they're like trying a little too hard to appeal a wide range. Oh my goodness, what was that song called? I think they had that album. Oh my goodness. I want like Riot City. I want Riot City. I don't want. Oh my goodness. This is so embarrassing. I'm seeing like every band except the one I'm looking for. Not like Air Raid, not really that. Ugh. Now you get to see me struggle to find, metal. We've been rattling them off, but Ugh, that's so embarrassing. Well, anyways. No, it's not Blitzkrieg. Give us a clue. The guy's voice is just doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't sound like any of the other bands. It's very melodic. I think that they have that album with the Fortune Wheel, and it's got that broad looking at the Fortune Wheel. And the thing about like Riot City is like there's your mixing thrash, and they could write a ballad because the guy's voice is good enough or has the capacity for it. And but like you also have like these what is it, like Viking metal sounding bands like Eternal Champion, and they're trying to that's their niche. But what is it? Yo, see you guys. Yo, mutants remain powerful and orderlies. Thank you so much. Hey, mutant man, you made this stream. You really made this stream. So thank you so much, man. I'll see you on Twitter. I'm gonna be adding you on Twitter. So get ready. Get ready, man. Love you, big guy. And there goes the content. And there goes. But anyways, yeah, I'm sorry, Richard Crook. It's really. Well, it was new wave of traditional heavy metal, and it was they were one of those bands that were big around Enforcer and what have you. White Wizard is like so boring. Like that's a band that is trying to like, oh, this is a trend. Grab my new wave of British heavy metal influence, grab my thrash influence. Let's go, I got this. And it's just so boring. It's just so that's your song. There's your song. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's great. Hey, it's like fast music. It's like fast. Hey, and it's like fast. Yeah, that's us, man. We like fast music. Yeah, it's cool. It's like if you were like working out and you told a guy, "How about if I just like scream next to you?" That's kind of like what you would want to listen to while working out. What if I just like scream, right? That's what people like in metal. It's like screaming. Is Dave Mustaine still mad that Dutch girls don't know his band and where they're? Yeah, that's right. Media hits. That's pretty funny. Is that referencing the that? What was that music video for The World Needs a Hero? Hey, World Needs a Hero. That could be a theme for something. Thank you. Media hits. Are you talking about when he was reviewing one of his music videos? I think it was for Moto Psycho. And he said, "Yeah, you got these dancers. They're like chubby, and they're wearing these skirts or something. They're wearing these cutoffs. And you look at the music video, the girls are not fat. They just look normal. Or excuse me, they don't look fat. They don't look fat. And it's one of those like weird, like, why did he say that? Like, was there a misunderstanding? Boston smoking and token. Yo, let's go. He confronted them and didn't know. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something different then. Sorry about that. Beantastic, another. Are you in the Telegram, Beantastic? You're another one. Wait a second. Okay, I thought we were talking about something else for a second. That would have been embarrassing. Could never get into Viking metal. It's closest. Yeah, I don't know if that qualifies. It's just I don't know, Viking metal, it's a little too specific. It's too pagan. It's just that's like, oh, you like European music? You like music from Europe? Okay. And it's just like, not quite like that. It's also got this very like folk energy. Folk, not Volk. Not Volk. Folk energy. And I don't know, that's not really what I'm looking for in metal. So to me, it's a bit of like, it's like a banana split, mixing fruit and dessert. It's like, it's not really what I'm looking for. What about pirate metal? That's like the worst. That's like, Why even bother? Pirate metal. That's like if you took Guar seriously, you know. Hailstorm and Jordan Peterson quotes for lifting bra. Well, I know someone. Wait, what? 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 What does that even mean? Oh, okay. Sorry. It took me a second. I forgot I made that joke. That's pretty funny. No. I know what you mean now. Okay. Yeah. Jordan Peterson quotes for lifting. Well, I guess. But I mean, don't tell me there's people who do that. Don't tell me. Is that a thing? Oh man. Well, hey, thank you guys. This is supposed to be like a scripted show, and it kind of just delved into you know, everything I did in high school, basically. It's right on the. Oh, the dictators. Yo, let's go. What the heck? Yeah, the cool thing about metal is nobody's gonna buy it, so you guys can get it for cheap. Don't have to worry about those vinyl sales anymore. Just get the CDs, and they'll probably be in the bargain bin at Walmart. All right. All right, we'll go to 3 hours and then we'll cut. I'm sorry for all the questions. There's a moment where I was like, I wasn't looking at the chat for a long time. Yeah, the Gen X. Oh, so true. Just Jones. We got to talk about that. The Gen X libertarian mind. So yeah, that's kind of and Mustaine kind of has that a little bit. Good for him. He did the Endgame album. He did Dystopia, so he's not totally paused. But there's still that we're working within a limited framework. Little bit. Maybe me and Gio got to talk about that. Shredding in favor of millennial turbo cringe. If you learn jazz first, you can adopt it to any genre. Oh, okay, that's interesting subject to change. I wonder. It's the only art from this country ever produced. Okay, yeah, Matthew. I hear you. Elvis like the crazy girls. I gotta check out the lore. I saw Elvis was into goth girls. Oscar, we gotta talk in the channel. Oh, by the way, I never put the telegram in the man, when we had like peak viewership, that would have been a smart thing to do if I was smart. Well, anyways, for those of you that are still here, putting up with my nonsense. It's not all nonsense, but okay. Oh, whoops! What is this? This is the wrong. If Richard Crook is still here, I'm begging you guys. I'm begging you. There's got to be more lore. All right, before I do, let me check if there's any more. Charles Hayworth, VTFOs. Oh, what the heck, Manone? I don't know the lore. Middle American meat? Interesting. Maybe that's the distinction. I wonder. What the? Okay. Yo, media hits. Okay, here you guys go. Okay, media hits. Let's talk about something else. Ace went 0 to 60 at the mention of God. Did I? I'm gonna have to rewatch. I don't think I. Okay, yeah. You know, it was funny. if Brandon is still listening. I was in a record store, and he apparently, like, my energy was one way, and then I saw like the metal section, and I like maybe that's what you're talking about. I'm not like totally aware of it, so it's a bit of a habit. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, folks. We made it. We made it. Appreciate all the love and help you guys have done in the chat. That's the reason to do the show, is it because it can be interactive. Unlike the YouTuber format, we can really get some back and forth as the chat. So so very thankful to the donations. You guys don't have to do that. Really appreciate it. And yeah, gave me some inspiration, unironically. Oops, just dropped the M&Ms on the ground. Just gave me some inspiration for some potential articles I'd like to write about Mustaine and Megadeth. And yeah, record deepness. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But anyways, background posters and candy. The studio is shaking. It's you never know what to expect in the studio. You never know. So anyways, Arizona was great. Can't wait for Arkansas. Gonna be meeting Thomas 777. Can't wait for that. It's gonna be overwhelming, but I'll give you guys the update. That's when we'll be back, probably next week. And yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned to the Telegram. You guys have been giving me so much love in the Telegram. I really appreciate it, man. If you guys want some, behind the scenes, just, really like community building in the Telegram channel. So check that out. Also the Twitter. The Twitter is very active. And what else? The Discord's pretty much inactive. So, but if you want to go and check that out, it's out there. And those M&Ms are just meant to be on the phone. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But Richard Crook, if you want to join that Telegram, I think you'd enjoy it. And you can remind me some other bands that I forgot about. But anyways, maybe like introducing metal, the albums is kind of the wrong approach. Maybe that's more of a Gen X approach. Maybe what's got to happen is we got to really tell these stories, sort of the arcs of Mustaine, how he became Christian. But honestly, like on top of that, like just like really these feuds, like we talk about, like in philosophy, people talk about like Schopenhauer versus Nietzsche, Hegel versus everybody else. And that's like the norm for these academics. That's how they like make sense of philosophy, is looking at it from all these different writers' perspectives. So why don't we do that same approach with music, since we do it with everything else? And it seems like people are more aware of like stuff about these musicians than the actual music. So that seems to be the thing that really grabs people. And so maybe that's the answer. But hey, I need some help figuring out the stuff too, and I'd like some help from the audience. What is it? What's that Trapeze album with Glenn Hughes? We are the music, you are the band, or maybe it's vice versa. But that's the thing, like we were saying about punk. It's really this relationship, The fans are also the band, It's this. But anyways, that's going to turn into a tangent. And let sleeping M&Ms lie. Okay, could not think of a better way to end it. But hey, thank you guys, greatly appreciate it. And check out some of the cozy content. I've been playing catch-up, but in the meantime, I know AA's been a little busy, so maybe some other content that's out there. And then I think me, Paul Fahrenheit, and Thomas I think we're in that new mind phaser. So that was pretty cool. We also talked about some of the gatekeeping. It's not just like another excuse to shill Nixon. There's also some stuff in there on what to avoid on the right. Some of the stuff that you're probably going to be seeing on your timelines and so on. Approaches Gen X and yes, Trapeze. Yeah, hey, Glenn Hughes, arguably the best vocalist in our genre, rock, you know. He's also very eclectic. He's got all the different, he's got the black music, the white music, the British music. Not that British people aren't white, but very all over the place. And maybe that's why maybe that's why he's one of the best. Hey. So I think that does it. I think it does it. So anyways, thank you guys for this metal episode. Thank you guys for this trip down memory lane. Hey man, hey. Back in 2016 when I was listening to Dystopia, that was pre-Elvis Pilled. That was pre-Goth Girls. That's going back a long ways. It's going back a long ways. And yeah. Wasn't even really active on Twitter. Didn't even know what Gamergate was. Like Academic Agent was in like his libertarian phase, I think, but I wasn't even there. I wasn't even knowing what was going on the ground level. But that's all right. That's all right. Okay. All right. Discovered a punk band. It's last call on Loud Sound Epicenter. Dystopia. No. The Megadeth album. So, all right. We also watched the last parts of the Elvis movie in Arizona, so very cozy. Not with the cozy streamers though, so. But anyways. With the no. All right. All right. What if I just like forget I'm doing the show for a sec here? All right. I gotta eat something because it's almost 9 o'clock Pacific time. When was the last time I ate? That'll be the last thing I try to do here. What did I think? I got chips at LAX. And then I came home. Oh, I had some toast late last night. What was that, like before midnight? So it's almost midnight. And the last time I ate was right before, so. Oh. Uh-oh. To know Gamergate, to not know. All right. No, you're right. It's time. All right. Well, thank you guys. One last time. We'll be back probably next week. We're going to be talking about Thomas, going to be talking about Paul Fahrenheit and giving thanks. And can't wait for our little Thanksgiving in Arkansas. And we're going to be having some social capital. So I'll give you guys the review. And it's basically going to be like my closest thing I have to like the event, the AA sphere. This is the first time meeting these guys. And so I'll be happy to talk about that, among other things, in about a week. So, hey, stay out of trouble. Go easy on those goth girls. Listen to some Elvis. And check out some Cozy while you're at it. So stay eclectic, okay? Stay eclectic. And if you guys need anything, check out the Telegram, Twitter. Door's always open. So please, greatly appreciate you guys making this show. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your evening. Take it easy.